April 24th, 2025. Our vision is providing quality care close to home. I'd like to call to order for the meeting. Do we have a quorum? Yes, we do. Okay. I think so. This thing is feeding back a little bit. Are we better now? Okay. Let me know. Snap the thing like you're doing it. Take one. That's right. He's getting a lot of money just to say that. Okay. Let me get back to where I was here. First item on the agenda would be public comment. Have we posted everything like we're supposed to post everything? Notification. Okay. Do we have any public comment? Okay. Next item is approval of minutes. Do we want Colleen? Does she want to come on before we start?
Yeah, we can have Colleen Colleen Zester do a foundation update. Bill used to do the update at the end of the agenda, but since Colleen is here, let her come up and do it now. But that way she can leave and we can move into the presentation.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Great. Okay, so I personally haven't been here for the last couple meetings. I think Bill's been keeping you updated. I wanted to join you this morning with just 3 key updates. First, we're happy to announce that at the end of this month, we'll be formally welcoming 2 additional members to our board. We've also started to generate some real interest in volunteering to support us in some causes, and we also have a small subcommittee that is going to help us with a donor drive. So now comes the audience participation part of the presentation. I'm going to talk to you about 2 events. One is our annual gala. Just a minute, I'll hold something up in a moment. The first thing is, last year, you'll recall in the fall, we did a formal gala. It was very successful. I think Bill mentioned to you, we've made a decision this year. We're still going to do an annual event, but alternating each year. So big gala will happen in 24, again in 26. This year in 25, we're doing what we're calling like a chic cocktail party. So it'll be cocktails and tapas, or very nice appetizers. We're bringing in caterers from other parts of the county, Franklin and Gulf County. So it'll be high-end music, etc. If you would care to, everyone have a cell phone? If you would get your cell phone out. Okay. Right here on this document, I have a QR code. Why don't I pass it around? Y'all, if you want to participate, QR code right here. So when you scan the QR code, this one on this side. Thank you. Okay, that'll take you to the full information and ticket site, just like we had last year. Everybody have it? Should be quick and easy.
Down here, y'all.
Go to camera. Hold it up. See that little box? Now right below it, touch that, right below the box. No, up, right there. There.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
There it is.
There we go.
For
There you
those
go.
of you on the phone, I could,
Got it? All right.
I don't know if we can hold it up for them, but in any event, those of you who have successfully scanned the QR code, you'll see the ticket information. Essentially, we're calling it Rising Tide Lifts All Boats. We think that not only does the theme tie with our mission and what we're trying to do, but our venue this year is the Apalachicola Yacht Club. So we thought it was a nice tie-in. We've already gotten several ticket purchases and 2 sponsors. So what we're looking for from you, tell all your friends, share the information, buy tickets, looking for sponsors and for volunteers. So if you're interested, you can either use that QR code to contact me, or I can, Bill's going to hand you a card in a few minutes with some more information. Any questions on that event? It's November 9th, same date as last year.
November 9th, right?
Same date as last year, yeah. So it is,
Thursday, Friday,
But it will be on a Sunday.
it is the Sunday
Okay,
of
fine.
Veterans Day weekend, so we are looking for nominations for local veterans who may be honored at the event. So please
Okay.
also think about sharing that information.
Is there any way you can provide us, like, for A's, my husband can put a flyer at A's, I can put them on the
100%.
website?
I can send a PDF out to, I'll send one to you. I'll send it out to everyone here, and that would be wonderful. Thank you. Okay, the next thing, you will? Okay, wonderful. I'll do that. Any questions? Okay, next, this is something that, since January, I've been spending a lot of time with other nonprofit leaders and foundation leadership. I've taken some training courses, starting to learn about things that maybe are going to continue to increase the impact we're making here. So one thing we're going to put into place effective immediately is a donor drive, which we're calling the More to Do campaign. Now Bill has a card that he'll pass out to those of you on the back. There's a QR code. However, if you want to just text the word Weems, W-E-E-M-S, to 801-801, that's another way to engage with the campaign. You want to try that? It's quicker. So you can either scan the QR code or text Weems to 801-801.
Bottom, right?
Okay, so what you'll see if you've successfully texted or gone scanned the QR code, you'll see that this is a pure campaign drive. So in addition to the work that we're doing to plan and execute another successful fall gala, we're going to do a campaign drive, and these funds obviously this will be ongoing throughout the year into next year. We've identified 5 levels of giving, and no donation is too small or too large. The 5 levels of giving, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, those will all be attributed. So for example, if the Zesters were to make a donation of $2,000, I would also fall out of my chair because, you know, my husband, he's very cheap. However, he's not even listening to me. Our name our name would go on the donor wall. So we've already gotten a few donations since initiating this just earlier this week. So those of you at the table have been given a card. It has the QR code. Feel free to use that to share it out with people you're talking to. We are looking for support from the board in this way. The text option is very, very simple, I think. So that's another way that we're looking to drive philanthropic support of the hospital. Any questions? My quick update. Duffy?
No, I'm good.
You're good?
Everything looks great. It was
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, the other thing we want to just mention is that please go on the website for the foundation and share, like and share.
If you go to our Facebook page and follow, like, and share,
Like and
that would be
share,
really
okay.
great. And I see often you reshare things. I've seen Kristen has reshared our posts, really helpful. Some of our sponsors from last year have been very generous. Donna Duncan always reshares our posts, for example. We're really garnering some great support from the community, and it just helps us push our communications out further in very cost-efficient ways, which is important. Okay? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Okay, next item on the agenda would be the, over there, approval of minutes. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. You want to do employee of the month?
Yep, we're gonna do it next.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, the next item we have is a multi-view presentation. I guess this would be software for
Yeah, so this presentation, Multiview, this particular software will pretty much enhance what we're doing with our financial operations system here at the hospital. And we're really just trying to take our, Dave Bowling and I was talking, taking our game to another level. We're stepping up the game here. So we can begin to review on a departmental level the budgets that our department managers would need, but it'll also flush out some of our financials. So I was at a presentation with Multiview at one of the Lion retreats, and they began to present this to us. One of our hospitals up north, Alliant Hospitals, they've been using Multiview and had some great things to say about that. So I wanted to bring them here so they can give us a presentation to the board, about what they can do for us. And I'll see it off. We have Diana Gates, Laura Thompson, we have Autumn here as well. Let me make sure y'all are on mute. And who else we got? We got Jeff. Is it Michael? Michael Goodman here. So I turn it over to Multiview, and you all can take it from there.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Thank you for that introduction. David, before I get underway, I just want to get a sense of time. About how much time do we have for going through a quick presentation this morning?
Well,
15 minutes?
Yeah, I have allotted you all 15 minutes, but there's going to be some questions and answers, so if we can get through the presentation, and then I'm sure there'll be some questions and answers.
Sounds great. We look forward to it. First of all, thank you very much to the board at Weems for the opportunity for us to present today. As David mentioned, we're Multiview Financial Software. We provide ERP and financial software applications specifically for the healthcare marketplace, and look forward to presenting the solutions today. At the conclusion of the presentation, we hope you have your approval and gain your trust to move forward with the project. As we go through, please don't hesitate to ask us any questions as we go through the material. First off, we are an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning solution, which is financial applications that is purpose-built for the healthcare marketplace. We're a financially sound and solvent organization, having been around for 35 years, and we now support over 400 healthcare clients across North America. We are rated the #1 ERP by Class Research. Class is basically the consumer reports of the healthcare IT industry. And we've been named #1 ERP for hospitals that are 300 beds or less. Our specific niche is specifically rural community-based healthcare organizations that look identical to Weems. We're HIPAA certified, so not only do we do the financial applications, but also note that we are also HIPAA certified, so any patient information is fully protected under the HIPAA guidelines within the four walls of Multiview as well. One of the things that is our key pieces of Multiview is the fact that we can really reduce your month end. At the end of our implementations and after post go live, our organizations average about 50% faster to a month end close process. And the difference with Multiview is that we're a real-time transactional system, so we kind of always look at it as this is an always closing process. Yes, there's maybe a couple steps that you have to certainly follow as part of that process, but you are always closing within the Multiview application set. More so than maybe any other statistic that we're sharing today, for you to walk away with this understanding that we provide and enjoy a 100% customer retention rate. So within our healthcare community, 100% of the 400 or plus clients that have signed to do business with Multiview today continue to do business with Multiview today. So we have never lost a healthcare client outside of either bankruptcy or acquisition, and we're going to make sure that you have our commitment that Weems will certainly not be the first to ever leave and using Multiview. A little bit about our application portfolio suite. We provide applications that span the entire back-end business continuum. So we provide your core general ledger, fixed assets applications, accounts payable, as well as all of your materials management, including purchasing and inventory applications. We provide a fully robust budgeting and forecasting solution. And then for any of those small instances, any non-patient accounts receivable. For your patient accounts receivable, obviously you'll continue to do that within your EMR and four walls of your EMR application, but we do provide some AR capabilities out of our tool as needed. And sort of overbridging all of those applications is our reporting and analytics tool. And we do hope to have a few minutes to be able to show you some live software. As David introduced, Autumn and I work within business development, and Lori and Diana work within our solution engineering team and our product experts. We hope to show you some of those tools today. But really, with that reporting and analytics, the dashboards and the drill down capability is second to none in the space today. One of the key things with Multiview and the separator from maybe Multiview, maybe any other ERP vendor in our space, is our ability to integrate with your EMR. Understand you're currently using TrueBridge, the former CPSI applications today, and we're able to pull any of your patient information, specifically your revenue data, from TrueBridge and incorporate that into Multiview. And what that's doing is allowing your financial users, your executive users, to be able to see all of your financial information and what comprises that financial information into the four walls of Multiview. You don't have to go re-authenticate into your EMR system to go looking for data. It's all brought into Multiview, and that's why we're HIPAA compliant. And this is a major differentiating factor of Multiview versus any other vendor that does what we do in our space. I should also note, yes, we integrate very well with TrueBridge, but we also integrate as easily with all the other major EMR vendors as well. So as you make your decision on moving with a core ERP vendor solution today, should TrueBridge be something different in the future of a different EMR vendor, we can easily integrate with other EMRs down the road in the future as well. Finally, with Multiview clients, we've included a small set of organizations in northern Florida, southern Georgia, southern Alabama that currently use our solutions today. I mentioned that we are hyper-focused on that rural community-based healthcare marketplace. Of our 400 clients, over 250 of those are either designated as critical access, rural emergency healthcare organizations, or considered as an FQHC organization. So we do know smaller organizations, community organizations like yourselves, where users run multiple hats within the organization to do and able to do what you do by providing patient care. I did want to point out a few of these on the slide. We do have Northwest Florida Community Hospital and Breckenridge. Both of these are aligned healthcare organizations today. And we already have and are up and live at Breckenridge. That's up in Kentucky, as David mentioned earlier. They're very successful in our solution. I would certainly encourage any conversations you may have with them as well. And then Michael Kozar's organization at Northwest Community Hospital, they've also selected Multiview and have commenced their implementation over there as well. At that point in time, I'd like to go ahead and pause, and I'd like to hand the ball a little bit to Lori to be able to show a little bit of the live software. And what we wanted to be able to do, as Lori's kind of pulling that up, is be able to show you some of the dashboards and the analytic capabilities that you have within the Multiview system today, and recognize that, as I mentioned, anywhere where there's a financial data set within Multiview, you have the supporting information behind it. So it contains all the drill down information. It contains anything within Multiview for expenses, purchasing, inventory, but also anything from the TrueBridge side of the house as well. So any of the revenue data as well, including patient, ordering provider, location, CPT code, etc., is all brought in for dashboard analysis within the four walls of Multiview. So with Lori, I'll stop there, and I'll hand the ball to you if you don't mind.
Sure. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rudy.
Hopefully you can see my screen. Thumbs up.
Yeah, Lori, can you make
Okay.
it a little bigger?
I cannot. You should be able to make it bigger, hopefully from Teams on your side. I apologize, I'm unable to make it any larger.
Okay, don't worry about it. We're good.
Okay, okay. So what you see here is, as Michael mentioned, our dashboards. We can help you build dashboards as simple or as complex as you like, and they can be a very visual representation of data. They also can be shared amongst users. So in a moment, we'll log in as a department manager, where that department manager has a dashboard that's been shared to him or her. As well, they can be refreshed. So we do plan to bring in EMR data overnight for the previous 24 hours, and these dashboard elements can be refreshed with that data. So you're seeing the latest and greatest, and you'll be able to see that super easy and really visually. As well, as Michael mentioned, you can drill into these numbers. We have a revenue by department pie chart here, and we can go to our dashboard details. We'll see our data sources here, and we're able to drill into that information. This takes us first to the general ledger. You'll see the entry that was created by bringing in information from the EMR. And that information is brought into what we call a ViewSource 360 table. What that table is a data warehouse of your EMR data, patient revenue activity. And then you're able to, the interface, multi-use interface, is summarizing that activity into a journal entry every day. When you have questions on this information, you can see we have quite a lot of transactions here. We do have the ability in multi-view to build pivot tables on the right-hand panel in almost all, if not all, of our inquiry screens. So you're able to drill into these numbers. This is a way you can more easily see all this information that's listed in the grid, as well as back up one of those dashboard elements. But even at a transaction by transaction level, if you have a question on this particular transaction, you can use the show source button here, and we're going to our EMR TrueBridge 360 data. Now we're seeing all the transactions that make up that particular summarized item in the general ledger. Again, we have our pivot functionality on the right-hand panel, and we can build that with a drag and drop with any of the fields that are here in our grid, as well as save different configurations for repetitive querying with names so that you're not having to repeat or remember how you did that query last month. You can just, with a click of a button, create it again this month.
Excuse me,
As well.
excuse me,
Sure.
what do you mean by
Sure.
pivot? I don't understand pivot.
Pivot is a functionality that likely finance users use in Excel now. It's a way to summarize data. So these records can be summarized more easily in a pivot table. It's a way to drop fields into columns and rows and get amounts that summarize that data. So it's a very much an Excel function.
Okay.
It isn't Excel in our product, but it is visually and used like that.
And if you don't, if you don't use Excel, you'll never know what a pivot is. Basically. So
Mr. Walker, what are we currently using? I know where your Athena is.
Yeah.
What are we currently using?
We're currently using right now.
Yeah, I can chime in. So what the hospital is currently using today, I mean, as Michael Goodman mentioned earlier too, we're on the CPSI TrueBridge platform.
Okay, so it's
From an
TrueBridge.
from an EMR standpoint, the clinics are on the Athena platform.
Okay, so we are still utilizing
However,
Athena.
from an ERP standpoint, as they're alluding to, there is no ERP that's in place today at the hospital. So a lot of the data has to be manually manipulated, gathered, put into Excel.
Which is why in the Baker Tilly, it was mentioned over and over that there was a problem with our billing.
Billing, but this is for reporting purposes. Okay. But this does allow you, and it will allow the hospital the capabilities as they're describing here to be able to drill into, review information at a departmental level. It'll allow departmental statements to be issued to the department leaders, again, for that ownership of their own departments. It's going to allow, actually a question even came up in the county commissioner meeting yesterday in regards to being able to identify referrals and looking at the providers that are referring business to the hospital and being able to identify the revenue that each of those providers are bringing to the hospital. So this is more of a, and I'll mention, it's more of a plug and play, allowing you to be able to have that capability of click and go and have.
So David,
information.
my question would be, it's not replacing any software we currently have.
not
It's
replacing.
enhancing what we already have. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
It's enhancing what we currently have. That's correct.
Yeah, because other than that, you're doing it manually, in a way.
That's right.
So this is taking the manual process out of it.
Yeah, creating a
21st
lot of,
century.
creating a
Yeah,
lot
21st
of.
century, really, you're trying to move the hospital into a 21st century mindset. And then when we have our financial people like Zester and Mr. Berry over there, always, looking at the financials, I think this would be an enhancement. Take our, John Berry's like to say, step up our game.
I like pie charts and graphs and things you can visually see, and that's going to allow you to do a lot more of that too.
That's correct. That's correct. And the reason I mentioned billing, it doesn't replace the billing capabilities and billing system, but it allows us again to be more improved
Yeah, I
efficiencies,
think-
workflows, and
Yeah, I think they said they're not going to do patient billing. It's going to be outside patient billing. Could be a function, but patient billing is still going to be
Got it.
with
Patient
with our
billing is still with
existing
TrueBridge.
program.
That is
Yeah.
correct. That's correct. Good question.
Okay, go ahead, we're sorry.
Sorry. No problem at all. So these particular dashboard items, as I said, can be drilled into and see the source records. As well, you can drill in from your financial statements. And I won't show the report writing tool from this perspective. Instead, let's log out and log in as a department manager to see what they would see. Building a report in multi-view, a financial P&L, you can build one, and you're able to put all your departments on top of the account structure, so to speak. And with one report, you're able to see a P&L for every single department in your organization. Individually, those department levels can be shared and secured. So your lab manager isn't going to see the P&L for the radiology department, et cetera. So here, for example, we've logged in as an IT manager. We always pick on IT at Multiview. So we see a dashboard that's been shared to this manager. Department managers are using a lighter license, so they're not building their own reports or their own dashboards. Instead, you're building them and sharing them out to them. So they're able to see this information. They also can drill into source information. So a couple features for department managers specifically is they're able to approve workflow items. We have electronic workflow in Multiview, so the routing of either AP invoices or purchase orders or requisitions, check runs, whatever the case may be, that they need to action, they're going to be able to see with their license. So here we have a small sample of an invoice to a computer service company that needs approval by our IT manager. They're able to see all the data in the right-hand panel. As well, they can click on the Documents panel and see the actual scan of the invoice. And then they can process it from here. So just one of the items that is available to them. As well, they're going to be able to go into their report screen. You can see dashboards have been shared to them, and also some of those pivot tables that we looked at briefly were shared out to the IT manager. But at the top, we have their P&L. So they're able to view this report. This view takes them to the same thing that the core finance folks that are going to be building and using the organization-wide report are going to see. But here, the department manager can see their actual, their budgets, their variances, etc. And they can see their current month, their prior month. They could see last year's the same month, however you'd like to build a report. And in addition, you can right-click on any single value here and view the transactions that make that up. So for your managers, they can see additional information from the report, the P&L. They're not seeing a piece of paper, they're seeing an active electronic report, and they can drill in. So if they have high IT expenses in this case, they can see here they had a couple big invoices, and it might be enough for them to answer their own question and be able to report back on any anomalies or variances that you want them to work on. So a little bit about how we can provide real-time up-to-date information to your department managers, and they're able to see and into multi-view the individual transactions.
And Laura, let me just clarify, the P and L is profit loss. People may not
Yes,
know
I'm
that.
sorry. Yes, sorry.
So,
Your income statement.
Can you tell me if, do you have an approval process built in where we can actually look back at the record itself and see who approved that expenditure and therefore how it got to the accounts payable and then the check process?
That's true. In multi-view, you can view any AP invoice, not only see the document, but once it's been processed, there is the tab or panel on the right-hand side that would give you all the workflow history. So that is fully auditable, and you can see that at any time. So it shows who the user was that entered the AP invoice, who approved it, all the way through the process.
Same question except for the budget side now, inputs on the budget. I assume that's probably one person. They got some key access to get into to put the budget in there, and then any changes to that budget have to go through some type of approval process. Can we track that?
Absolutely. Our budget and forecast module is built right in multi-view. So it's connected to your live actual financial numbers. It sees your past budget numbers. You're able to build it. We have an administrator license. That would be the owner or the builder of the budget, and getting the starting place out to contributors. And then we have various levels of contributor licenses for exactly what you're looking for. Them able to go ahead.
On the security side of it, is there a table that allows only certain individuals to make these type of entries, and also third party, i.e. the CPA firm, when they do their closing entries, do they have access to the system to put it in, or someone from the hospital have to put it in?
That will definitely be dependent on the license structure, but yes, you could get them a license for that. And within a license that gives you access to our software is also the ability to secure functions. So,
Thank you.
sure. So I'll turn you back to you, Michael.
Sounds great. Thanks, Laura, for that.
I've got a question here.
Sure.
The training part, y'all assist with the training on how this software works? You know, like, we're gonna have to go all the way down to the department heads, I'm sure, maybe more. So you have a training program in place that you would support, help?
We do. That's a big component of following any moving forward with the contract, moving forward with multi-view. When we commence an implementation, we assign an entire implementation team to Weems. So that consists of a client success manager, a project manager, and then individual subject matter experts that are your sort of at the elbow resource throughout that entire implementation. So we try to take the heavy lift off your organization. Like I said, we understand critical access hospitals. We do the build at multi-view, kind of go through an iterative approach and kind of showing you the build, kind of showing you what the system can look like and how it can be tailored for Weems. We work with your organization on getting everyone trained upon that testing and training validation step, and then we're with you directly through go live. I should also mention we provide support, so right through post go live from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 24-hour ticket support as well that we include as a part of our subscription.
I have another question. When you built this system, and be able to get you cover the whole board of different hospitals, it's sort of a structured system, and then each individual organization has their need for special type of categories or something to that effect. Do we have to pay for that extra thing that we won't want as opposed to the standard package?
No, great question. What your question boils down to here is what we call configuration versus customization. We do not customize in the solution. We have a very configurable solution that we provide, and then your organization has, dare say, keys to the kingdom, right? So if you want to make changes or edits to how the system can work or function, you have access to doing so. And then we're there for your support as you might need us during any of those configuration changes. So we'll do that, the majority of that during implementation, working with you. And then post go live, as you make ongoing changes to the system to configure it for your hospital, right, we're there for your support, so we can help guide you on how to make those configuration changes. Yeah, so, and you're right, every healthcare organization, as much as there's standards and there's best practices, which I should mention, that's different today than maybe ERP or even EMR systems were 15, 20 years ago. You know what these best practices are, and as part of that implementation, we're going to push you saying, hey, here's best practices, you should be following this kind of guideline. If you have a real reason not to, yeah, that's fine, but we're going to kind of come to the table with sort of the best practice approach and kind of suggest why we're suggesting to do something the way we are.
So, and then you in turn back that system up every night?
Correct. Yes, we handle all the backup, disaster recovery, is all done by Multiview. And even behind Multiview, it's all run on Amazon Web Services, AWS. So we follow the strictest of security protocol within the system.
And what type of approval process or oversight process in building your system? Who certified it?
Well, we're HIPAA certified and we're Drummond certified as well. So different than an EMR vendor, during those years of meaningful use and having to approve certain vendors to do patient care documentation, we'll fall a little bit outside of that, not necessarily needing that, but we do follow the standard, like I said, Drummond certification, HIPAA certification compliance, as well as the financial GAAP guidelines as well.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was looking for. Is who certified your gaps, make sure that the system does conform? Who's your CPA firm, in other words?
It's a great question. I don't have it unless, Diana, if you happen to know that answer, that's something I can look back to, or Autumn.
Hi, Michael. No, I don't have that answer.
I can follow up with you on that.
Thanks.
Sure.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for now? And I do have just a couple more slides I wanted to go through. And I know sorry, David, when you mentioned 15 minutes, we try our hardest. Show sounded like software, go through a couple slides.
No, you're good. You're good. We know we're going to have some questions to answer. So.
Yeah, please, and keep them coming. What we heard from your organization as we started to get through conversations at Alliant since, what we heard was some of the biggest challenges, financial transparency, and for leadership members and you yourselves and the board. Hopefully you got a good sense as soon as Gloria signed on to this system, you saw those interactive dashboards. And to your question earlier, you can configure those dashboards when you sign on to this system to be anything you want them to be. So we'll kind of, like I said, come to you with the implementation of best practice and what we typically see when you can configure those dashboards any way that you want. But that's giving you that real-time insight into decision-making directly as soon as you sign into Multiview. We also heard budgeting and forecasting across all levels of care. We're providing an advanced budgeting and forecasting tool with real-time analysis so that you can continuously see real-time, your actuals, real-time, and your budget numbers throughout the year and as you go into the system to make decisions for the organization. Sort of in the same vein, departmental business ownership, be able to give your department heads, right, sort of that idea that they can sort of run their own business. We're giving you the real-time actionable insight of spend management. So again, you saw Gloria's dashboards where sort of the needle kind of showed where they were on their month, on their quarter, on their year. We provide automated bank reconciliation tools for direct connection to banks to clear checks and bank reconciliation. And then we also heard about capital expenditures and asset depreciation. We provide full fixed assets management and capital planning tools as part of our solution.
Can I stop you just a second? How long has this system been developed?
Sure, 35 years. 35 years, 450 healthcare clients, 250 critical access hospitals, and a 100%
250 critical care?
critical access hospitals, and a 100% customer retention rate outside of bankruptcy and acquisition.
Thank you.
Also wanted to share our partnership and our sort of willing to sort of meet Weems where you are. We've provided David with an overview proposal and outlines our cost structures. And without getting into sort of some of the details on the left-hand side of the screen, what we go through is an exercise to determine number of users with full license and who needs access to just like approval licenses and things of that nature. What that exercise does is that reduces the cost rather than having to pay for sort of a global full license for every user across the organization. Going through that exercise, we've been able to go through an annual subscription. It's $27,000 for our annual subscription. And then typically with our implementation, that's $94,500 for an implementation. Again, trying to meet Weems where you are as an organization, and obviously any challenges of any critical access hospitals like yourselves, we're providing a 100% discount off of our implementation. To do that a little bit side by side, typically when an organization of Weems, and again with your user counts, typically it would be about a $30,700 annual subscription to our software. We've been able to make a reduction down to $27,000 for the software subscription services. Implementation, we made almost a $95,000 reduction. So we're asking for $0 for an implementation to stand up the product. Typically, we go into an organization and suggest a 5-year term. It is SaaS software, so the software as a service that you subscribe to. Typically, we go in 5 years. We're willing to do a 1-year commitment with an auto renewal at the time of cloud deployment. That's when we provision the services and we start your implementation. And we're willing to go sort of year to year. And then the payment terms, typically upon contract signatures, that full implementation amount, as well as the first year annual subscription, which would typically be $125,244. And for Weems, like I said, we've reduced the implementation to $0. So upon cloud deployment, not signature, but cloud deployment, and start your implementation, it would be $27,000.
Now, one of the reasons why I asked for the 1-year agreement, because if I don't like them, I need to be able to get out of it, so, but they worked real hard with me on that. And then the implementation fee, I didn't want to pay that, so they really worked very, very hard with us on that. And also we can get with the annual fee, we can get some benefits on the cost report for that. But so that's why the 1-year auto renewal is there instead of the 5 years.
Thank you, David. And I appreciate the sense that you picked up on that. We'd love to earn your trust. We'd love to earn your business. We'd love to partner with your organization, as David said, and to step up your game and kind of bring your financial applications and modernize your back office applications, really bringing to light all of your financial transactions so that you can make the best decisions for your organization. And we really look forward to partnering with you and making you folks a successful user of MultiView. I do thank you. I understand your time is valuable during your board meetings and your time that you do get together. I do welcome any questions from a company perspective, a product perspective, any features and functions that Lori showed or anything else. Again, we gave you a very small tour of the system of things that we thought that you may enjoy to see, but obviously there's a lot more behind the scenes on that. And I open it up for any questions that you may have for MultiView.
Yeah, Michael, I have a question for you. How long does the implementation process take, and how long are you here for training?
Yeah, great question. It's typically between 4 and 6 months for an implementation. And a couple additional components on that. We plan on bringing you folks for go live during your Q1. And a couple other items around the implementation timeframe. On a very quick, hyper quick sort of implementation, we could do it 4 months. On the longer end, we can do it in 6 months is what we typically recommend. But we would work with the organization on identifying what the proper go-live date would be and standing up the system. It's not something that we would all recommend, nor would you. You're putting the investment into the system to rush the implementation. I think a question came up about training and how important training is so that you know the power of multi-view, can configure it correctly, that you know how to use the system well. It is your investment on the system after all. And to do that properly, we do recommend between 4 and 6 months.
So we're looking at, as we begin to plan this out, the implementation timeframe, quarter one of our new fiscal year. Our fiscal year starts October 1, so between October 1 and December, we can get it implemented, and then we probably can backload some of the information in for that first quarter, so to begin in the new fiscal year.
And I just want to add, make sure you guys know you're going to have like a client success executive that's going to be assigned to just your organization that will be working with you hand in hand throughout the entire time implementation, and then also after go live. And you'll have an in-month program that they'll work with you hand in hand and make sure that you guys see a drastic reduction in your in-month end timeline.
You have situations where different users find bugs, or else they have a new application within the standard application that you have. How do those get developed and then pushed out? Does the agency, like Weems, have the ability to say, no, we don't want that module? Or do we have to take that module and just turn it off?
Yeah, great question. So as we develop new applications into our system, it would be, you do not have to take those new applications as a part of your system. We would build those, and that would be optional for our client and customer base. Regarding updates, so that's a great question. This is a SaaS application, right? So we're providing those updates at no additional charge, and we're pushing those out to our client base. So if there are design, as you said, bugs or something that was determined into the system, we categorize those on an importance level, right? Obviously taking care of the most priority ones first, and we're pushing those automatically out to our customers, and it feeds all 450 healthcare clients that we support at one time. So you don't have to go through it hitting a test system and then you validate it, and then you're bringing it by yourselves. We're sort of managing that process ourselves. And then the documentation to it, before we provide updates into the system, we document those, we push those out to you so that you know in advance when they are coming and what those changes are going to occur to the system. So we provide the documentation as well along with it.
Thank you.
Yep.
You did say we would have one person assigned to Weems Hospital. Like if we wanted to call up, it would be a account executive or something, whatever you want to call it. So it's not you wouldn't call up there and go through 6 extensions. One person would be a contact point, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Good,
that is
good,
fundamental bit about multi-view. You call your account executive, your customer success point person. They are your contact. You're going to know them well.
Okay, good.
If not you, David's going to know them well. Stephen is going to know them very well. And you'll probably get to know their children's names and their favorite color.
Okay,
we expect that relationship to occur, and it is an individual person that's your point person for customer success.
Good. That's real good. I got a question for Mr. Bowling. Do y'all have this at what, three other hospitals? Or?
We do. I mean, we're currently, as Michael mentioned, implementing it at Northwest Florida, Michael Cozart's facility. But, we stand behind MultiView. I mean, it's a recognized partner with us as well. It's been in place, as they mentioned, at Breckenridge, which is the hospital that we have in Kentucky. And, that group is in Michael Goodman, I think you guys have been live with that facility for, and you guys may have to help me on this one, but it's probably been 2
Yeah,
or 3 years.
I think they've been up for, I think, 5 years now.
Okay, 5 years. Okay.
5 years.
So they've been using the product, and one of the things too that, and I know this was mentioned, I think Lori even mentioned this earlier too, and we have a what we call a core team within Alliant that is helping build out some best practices and looking at the financial reporting and standardizing the reporting across all the facilities that ultimately sign up for multi-view. So we have a team already dedicated that is also helping to build out, the reporting and so forth that's needed. And to Mr. Berry's question earlier too, I mean, this tool you can do ad hoc, which means you can customize and drill down and grab information out of it as needed. And that core team will be able to help with that as well. And quite frankly, one of the members on that core team is, and you've heard the name mentioned here quite a bit, Jason Bonner. He does help support this hospital already from a financial perspective as well. So he is part of that core team.
One of the things I like about it also is that, they're not nickeling and diming me if I need something built, like an app. Usually most of these organizations are vendors. If you need something created, they're like, oh, you got to pay this for extra software subscription, almost like Microsoft. If you need Word, you got to pay for that. You need PowerPoint, you got to pay for that. Multiview, what we need is in the system, and so I think this is something that, as we move towards, really to take our financial game to another level, for good transparency, and it'll be great for our departmental managers. Since I've been here almost 5.5 years now, maybe 5.5 years, I've talked to our department managers, with every CFO we've had, about creating department level budgets. And every time we get there, we get a new CFO, so it's almost like a revolving door in a way, but we've been kind of stable for a minute. But this will help us, so no matter who comes in as our CFO, we will have this at our department levels here. So this is something I think, as we look to move forward. And I really want to bring them here, multi-view team, so they can share with the board, some of the things this tool can do for us. So thank you all. Greatly appreciate, the presentation. David Bolin probably in the CFO report probably give a little bit more information, about multi-view and some things like that. But I want to thank them for coming and presenting to us and working with us, to maybe help utilize their platform.
Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you very
you.
much, and we appreciate your opportunity to present today, and let us know any questions as you go through your continual meetings, and we look forward to hopefully partnering with you and starting the implementation.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great morning.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a quick question though. David, do you want to implement this? Have y'all discussed this?
Oh, yes, yeah. David Bowling, we discussed it. Jason Bonner, he's a CFO, that's behind the scenes that do the nitty gritty, of the reports and stuff. We discussed it as well. They, especially Jason Bonner, because he's the one that does a lot of the nitty gritty. He was telling me, I was telling him what I need, hey, I need departmental reports, and he's like, hey, David, this is maybe something good for Weems to look at. This tool has that capability. And as I began to talk with David Bowling about it as well. And so this is something I think that, we definitely need to move towards, really to take our financial game and transparency to another level.
Does this require a vote from the board?
No, it doesn't. It's not a capital outlay. I can make that decision,
Okay, I just want to see.
Yeah.
I like what I'm saying. We got, I think the accounting firm that did the audit, one deficiency that we have is that, and we have it, is that the department heads are not having enough input on their budget, and they can't look back and see where the problems were and stuff like that. I agree with them. I mean, we're kind of handcuffing them a little bit, and I think this would be save us a lot of time and work too.
What it would do, it would give them more ownership. Because right now, like I tell all my department heads, you're good operationally. I mean, like Courtney, she knows nursing. Jennifer, respiratory manager, she knows respiratory. But this will make them well-rounded when they learn the financial piece. It's their own business. Your department is your business. So this is one of the first times I know that as a hospital, we've shared some budget information with them on their level, but this is the first time they will have the total ownership of that. And And I think that's very, very good, here as we begin to build the leaders, but they'll have more ownership.
So everybody's responsible for their department.
Yeah, everybody's responsible for their department. Because right now, of course, they're responsible, clinically,
Yeah.
but now you can be also more responsible on the business end of it. And they begin to grow,
Right.
So they see where, they can actually see where some
Yeah.
stuff's happening, they can take corrective action if they need
Yeah.
to, they can see it, I mean, that,
Can we get a copy of their contract or people that's going to be with us so we know what's in it?
Yes.
Yes. As soon as they, send me an agreement, I'll make sure you all get a copy of it.
Yeah, I'd like to see it before we just jump into it, because many times you get these systems like this that have all been tailored, and you come along, and then next time you find out you don't have really some of the flexibility you want.
Mm.
And then there are add-ons that they don't discuss when you're being courted, okay? So I'd like to take a look at a contract, and along with that same question, can we get a copy of the Baker Tilly report?
Yes.
Please.
Yeah. Okay.
And one thing I'll add too, and this goes to the chairman's comment about Alliance supporting it. There are other ERPs out there. There's other groups. We have vetted through other companies in the past. I think a couple of things that stood out about this group is one. I mean, as they mentioned, they've been around for 35 years. They're working with a lot of hospitals across the country. They're working with over nearly 250 critical access hospitals, which is what we're designated here, and their familiarity with the the CPSI TrueBridge system, which is what we operate here and utilize. I think that's beneficial. The one in Kentucky that I mentioned is on a different platform, so that's why I wanted to put clarity around the question about this is like a bolt-on system, so it's overlay and it grabs the data from your current system. So even if you changed systems, this is a bolt-on add-on that can help with reporting. But we stand behind them. I mean, we have witnessed their success in these other organizations, and it's something we want to look at across our organization, and that's why we are partnering with them to bring these solutions to all of our facilities. And again, it's local hospital decision, but we stand behind the product and feel like there's a great can bring a great value here.
Been real happy with it. Okay.
Can you follow up on who certified their system or who tested it?
I can.
Please.
Yeah, and the pricing.
And if there's a report, let's get a copy of that report.
Sure.
Okay.
I can.
Okay.
And then the pricing, I'll just put.
Granted, it's across the board, but for our own sake, let's have a copy of what the outside party says, how they assessed it.
Sure. And then from a pricing standpoint, I'll just put, that pricing has been negotiated, as David mentioned. That is pricing that we have been able to negotiate down, so it's cross all as far as that per user license fee and so forth. So it is an Alliant negotiated price, and we did get them to waive the implementation, which is a huge help as well, to waive that. So
With TrueBridge, who enters the accounts right now? Is there one person? Who is responsible for TrueBridge? Like, he said that Mr. Duffy had a good question that we would basically have one person to refer back to. But as of now, who's entering the coding, the billing?
Yeah, that's
currently.
Well, sure, that's a great question too. I mean, when you got a lot of the system integrates and there's not one data entry person, I guess is the best way. I mean, there's a lot of data points. I know Heather could probably explain a little bit better about this as well. But there's a lot of data entry. There's a lot of data points in the CPSI system. There's also a lot of automatic charging and so forth that goes in place. But TrueBridge is our billing revenue cycle company, so they do the coding, billing, and so forth for the organization.
As well as our electronic health records. So TrueBridge has a
right.
They the electronic health records, electronic medical records, EMR. That's what they call it. And so patient comes in, they put information in the computer. They got financials. That stuff is in TrueBridge here at the hospital now, the clinic, kind of thing.
Sure.
And then once that information get in, Heather and her team, coding team, billing team, it goes through that flow as well. And so then that comes in it comes through the TrueBridge system there. So you got a lot of different players, all depends on what departments you're in.
So if we
We
have
can give you
a
a
bunch of
flowchart.
claims that have been rejected, whose responsibility is
Okay.
it to follow up on that and submit a second claim or tweak it to get that? Whose responsibility is
That's
that?
the, and Heather, you can come up here, the revenue cycle management claim as well as with TrueBridge
Sorry,
as well.
Heather, I don't mean to put you on the
Oh,
spot.
no, no,
at
that's
all.
good.
No,
That's
it's-
just part of our,
yeah, sure.
is it all? It's not all.
If there's something missing from the claim that needs to come from us,
Right.
it comes back to me, and then I disperse it to whatever department manager, and then TrueBridge actually does the resubmission.
So we do have somebody following up to
Yeah.
resubmit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm afraid some of that might be falling through the cracks a little bit.
yeah, the reason why we did that, to be honest with you, back in 2019, I just give you some history. 2019, we had $1 million+ that we thought that Athena, which Athena was our billing team, we thought that they were working the claims. Of course, I was on the board, and trying to find out they were not working those claims. So it was like $1 million+ that we had to go back and try to recover and rebuild and all of that. And so with we did a lot of work. So that's when we brought in a in-house Heather kind of to watch that process for us and work with TrueBridge with that. And so we're the ones that we got a lot of different avenues to make sure those claims are rebilled because you have timely filing issues, and David can speak to that more. And so TrueBridge has done a wonderful job. Like I said, we had $1 million. Now we'll talk about, since the revenue cycle, we're talking about revenue cycle. We mentioned the Baker Tilly report. I make sure all of you all get that report. I thought I sent it to you all, but I make sure you get it. But they mentioned some billing stuff in there. If you look at the dollar amount, what we have about $14 million company, we have about 100,000.
Yeah, and some clarity around that too, and to your point about duplicate claims, I mean, and we walked through that. It's an issue, but not an issue. And what I mean by that is, and Heather can help explain this too, as they peel back the layers and look at it, when you got patients that are presenting and they're being treated, and they say they have Blue Cross, for example, all right, you enter Blue Cross, and then you find out, well, your Blue Cross lapsed, right, but a claim has been generated. Well, Blue Cross was lapsed because the patient didn't pay their premium. Well, the patient goes back and pays the premium, their Blue Cross gets reinstated. See where I'm going with this? The claims get dropped. There's a duplicate claim get dropped again and again until they get clarity. It delays the cash for the organization, but it's a process that, and I think that was one of the highest rejection codes that the Baker Tilly report provided. But that's something that, it's a challenge. I mean, it's not, and when you look at David's point, when you look at, rural-based or critical access hospitals and hospitals this size of organization, that error rate and that rejection rate was not outside of the norm. So it was within a norm as far as, and there's always going to be opportunity. It's never going to be 100% perfect. But I think the team here, and I think the team working alongside
We had an
TrueBridge
initial
is
claim rejection of 11.2. Is that
Right.
correct?
that is correct.
Which is higher than industry average, correct?
What is the industry?
Sorry?
What
Industry
is-
average is probably 10%.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
correct.
So industry average is maybe up to 10%, I believe. And then we were right at 11, so we got to make sure we always have opportunities for improvement, here. And that's
Yeah.
something that we,
And
definitely need to
those
do.
will be definitely, yeah.
Now, mention the I know we're ahead of ourselves because we talking about.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. 'Cause,
I did my homework, David. I got to stay.
That's good. The Baker Tilly report, David, he's going to talk about that, and we're going to have some action items for that, to address those kind of things.
100%.
And so, we'll talk that on the financial report. Before is the billing, because that's very important. When I started.
Thank you, Heather. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. 'Cause when I started, I had a commissioner say, well, y'all must be just, he's not there anymore, but, y'all must get a claim and you can't, if you don't refile it, you throw it in the trash. I'm like, I don't think so, but I don't know if that's true, really. And so we made a lot of efforts really to try to refile those claims because you got to get the cash in the door, really, that's the bottom line. So that's something that we'll continue to work on, creating operational efficiencies here at the hospital. You buy the elephant one bite at a time. We keep hitting it, we keep hitting it, we keep hitting it. And we want to leave the organization better before you came. That's the bottom line. And so we've done a lot of work in this financial area. We got a whole lot of more work to do. Be honest with you.
All right, let's take a 5-minute break. We can continue. Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Go ahead.
David and David. Because I realize that we don't need to vote for this. However, I have to say in reference to this company, because I believe that you've done your homework, both of you, because of the longevity of this particular company and their track record. From what I've heard and seen this morning, I kind of like it. I just want that to go on record. I like what I hear, and I like what I've seen. Yes, there's room for us to do better, but through the years, you'll find that I'm one of the main cheerleaders for this hospital. You made a statement that you want to leave the place or the situation better than when you came. I've got news for you. It's better since you've been here the last 5 years. I've been around a long time. And at one time, I wouldn't advocate anybody coming out here. That's been years ago. However, from that time to as I speak, it's been a complete turnover. And unless you have been here, come out here, and seen what was happening years ago, you cannot appreciate how this hospital and its employees have improved and are working hard to keep it up here. I just want that to go on record.
Okay.
I'm done.
No, you're not done. No. You're not going to be done. Thank you.
So is that like a scrubbing
Quick question
software?
quick question
Scrubbing
for
software. Is
Craig.
that the
This
same?
covers the clinics too, right?
No.
David, this would take care of the clinics too, right? This sunshine. Okay. Thank you very much. And just butt in as well. That's fine. I appreciate that. 5-minute break, y'all. item is Dr. Conrad is not here today. Dr. Hart will be, I guess. Go ahead. Introduce him.
Yeah. I want to introduce Dr. Paul Hart. You know, Dr. Hart is the owner of Southland, and so he's been doing shifts here at Weems. Of course, he's been with Weems dating back many years ago. And so I just want to, I just want to introduce him. You know,
Just happened since you came back.
Yeah, I want him to greet the board. Go ahead, Dr. Hart. Yep. Turn the mic on.
I'd like to ask everybody, make sure you're talking into the mic now. Check your mics now and make sure we're talking.
Checking.
Go ahead, Dr. Hart.
I don't really know what else to say other than, hey, I'm Paul Hart.
Glad to see you, Dr. Hart.
Seen a lot of people around here since 2002. I got out of residency. And I love it. So keep coming back.
Where have you been during the interim?
Well, Eufaula, Alabama, Chipley, Florida, is the other two places that we provide services to now.
Great.
Okay.
Welcome. Yes, I just want him. I wanted to introduce him to the board. We don't really get to see him much because usually Dr. Conrad is here.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, he's a good guy. Been here for a minute, so I just want him to come back.
Conrad's more eloquent than I am.
So. But thank you, Dr. Hart.
All right, thank you.
I didn't know Dr. Hart. I had an occasion to come to the emergency room and in the middle of the night. My pressure was over 200, and I live right down the street. And you are a keeper. I'm telling you, his bedside. For anybody that have not experienced his expertise as a doctor, not just someone. This conversation. You helped me so much medically, but you were able to calm me. Your bedside manner is excellent.
Thank
you. Yeah, and I have not forgotten that. I had not forgotten your name. Yeah. Thank you so very much.
Oh, my wife.
Yes, I can see that.
Dr. Hart, would you hang around about 5 minutes? If this pertains to everybody here. I'd like to say something. Have a seat or stay there or whatever. I mean, it's up to you. I got something I wanted to talk to just in general, talk to our board of directors about. And everybody here. This is no monumental thing, but I want to talk a minute about customer service. Okay? In our agenda here, I looked at several other agendas. We spend 90% of our time on financials and some on treatment, maybe 50-50. But we don't really talk about customer service. Okay? And I just think that we need to, whatever we have to do, it needs to be on every one of our departmental agenda meetings. And we need to talk about it. Do we provide good customer service? Yeah, we do. Is it great? I don't know. Have we tried to press it to get great? I'll give you all an example. There's certain stores I shop at because they have good customer service. Okay? They swarm you when you go in. And some of the big package stores, I don't go there because I don't know what I'm looking for. So I'm not going to mention any names, but we got some stores here. That's where I do some business because they can help me figure out a 1/4-inch fitting to a whatever right there, and I don't have to go back but 5 times when I'm doing some plumbing work instead
Thank
of
you,
10.
Ace.
Okay. So
Thank you, Ace Hardware.
I can give you. There's a store that groceries that when we go out, we like everybody else, we shop locally, and then we go once every couple of months. And there's a certain store, and going back and forth to Tallahassee, and my wife's not with me, she gives me a list. And Jesus, I don't even know what some of that stuff is. Don't have a clue where it's at, okay? There's a certain store, they stop what they're doing, and they take you to it. They take you to the aisle it's on, okay? I had to buy some capers the other day. How many people here know where you can buy capers from? I'm talking about what part of the store? The pickles. You get them at the pickles. I had no idea. I love capers. I had no, oh, thank you. Well, I didn't know. I would have never, it's either this, that, the other. Okay. I just strongly suggest that, and let's remember our patients. They come in to stay with us in swing bed, probably. That's inpatient. Well, I'd like to address them. Those folks have, number one, lived independently probably their whole life. They're probably successful. I would say that if you average the age, it's like me on up there, and they see their life changing, bam, through no fault of their own. They're going to be changes. If they go to a swing bed, it's some changes they're going to have to make either in their lifestyle or something like that. We need to remember that and make them as comfortable and get that fear out of them and be nice, okay? You ever go back to the patient's room and introduce yourself? Hey, I'm the maintenance. I'm not talking about it. I'm talking, yeah.
Oh, us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do sometimes. Yeah, we get calls to maybe the TV's out. Or
No. Do you ever just take 5 minutes and walk back there and say, I'm Craig and I'm over maintenance and, and I will try to help you all I can.
Yeah, no, not unless we get called.
Why not? Yeah. Would that take too much away from your day? I'm not putting you on the spot.
No.
But, matter of fact, I talked to the managers, when it was last week.
QAP, I believe.
QAP, that we'll begin to talk about the customer service initiative, that we really want to do for the inpatient swing beds that are here, that each department or manager that's touching that patient, that we're going to introduce themselves, Courtney and I can introduce ourselves. Anyway, but boys like Craig can go in and say, hey, I'm Craig Gibson, overpaying operations, anything here, I'll be touching you. Then you have respiratory, you have clinical.
I know. I'm talking about drilling down.
PT, yeah.
Okay. Don't bring me oatmeal if I'm here. I don't. If a patient says, I don't like oatmeal, will we accommodate a little bit?
We're trying to keep you alive, Duffy.
I'm sorry.
No.
I mean, the little things count.
Yeah, but we all,
That's important to me.
Yeah,
I don't want to
but we're on the record, so we do whatever the dietitian wants us to give the patient. We give that patient.
Okay, I understand that.
Those are easy things, aren't they?
Yeah. But customer service is important. I know we were talking, and I often tell people that the customer's always right, even when we think they're not right. Really, because when people come to the hospital or clinics, anywhere like that, the anxiety level is always up. Really.
Well, yeah, it is. Sure, it is.
So we're trying to minimize that anxiety level, but customer service is very important. So we'll continue.
If I could please just add something to that. I've only been on the board for a month, but I can tell you that I've had a tremendous amount of outreach from the community. And I've heard some good things, and I've heard some things that I'm not proud of at all. I was in a salon last week getting my hair done, and we just happened to be talking about Weems. And there was a lady next to me that said, and I have her information in her email, she would like to speak to you, that said she came into the ER one night. Her husband is a retired physician, and he gets urinary retention every few months. He needs to be straight cathed. Some of you that are clinical are familiar with what that is. He was turned away at the door. I have another friend that was turned away at the door because he has Georgia insurance. This is unacceptable. I'm sorry. So I think for us to get the community's trust back in our hospital, we got to change our clinical culture today. We can't have patients come in here and think they're a bother or we're disturbing someone's movie or their day because they're here to get care. We take care of indigent people, and that's the name of the game for a critical access hospital. So I feel like if we would change our clinical culture internally, we would get a lot of our customer service back, and we'd get a lot of the trust back into our community. But that has to start on the clinical side. I've heard a lot of good things, but I've also heard a lot of bad things that we can work on, and we need to fix immediately.
Were these recent turnaways?
These were within the last 6-7 months.
Okay, because I do see a lot of people that hang on to things that happened 20 years ago.
No.
I hear that all the time.
No. I have names and emails of.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and get those names to me, because what happens is that, I get caught at the grocery store.
I know.
Even get caught at church sometimes.
And I'm not attacking you at all, Mr. Walker.
No, that's good.
But you need to know.
No, we need to know because I tell people all the time, if we don't know, we cannot address it. That's the bottom line. So please tell me. I get the calls also. But no one should get turned away from the ED. ED,
We need to remember our EMTALA laws.
That's EMTALA. I don't, so we definitely need to look at that. So we'll talk. I'm glad, Dr. Hart is here as well. So, but we'll talk about that, but just give me those individuals' names. And usually what happens, many times people probably already call me, email.
You might have already heard.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
So, but yeah, give me those names. Make sure if we talk to those persons or not, because we really want to address, every issue that we have.
Yeah, and the same at the clinics. I mean,
Yeah.
if we're considered urgent care, you have somebody come in for back pain, you can't have a receptionist or whoever turn them away. Okay, well, if we have somebody that's trying to get an appointment, we can't turn them away.
We'll address issues. If any board members, and I know this meeting is live, so I will be out of Facebook, YouTube as well. But if anybody have any issues, they know my name, David Walker, and they know how to get in contact with me. So if y'all have anybody, just send me hey, David, here's the person's name, email, they got an issue, and we'll address that. But customer service is important. You got to remember that. I was at of course, my daughter's in a hospital now, and she was just amazed by how she was treated. I was in a grocery store. I did ask the young man, I was looking for something, grabbed me. I thought he was going to tell me where to go. He said, no, you walk me through that. So customer service is important to us, and that'll be our customer service initiative because, the patient pay our bills, bottom line, and but we're here to meet the needs of the community. Now we don't do 100% everything right. We understand that, but I can tell you, as we begin to look at the volume that comes to our ED, the volume that comes to our clinics on a monthly basis, we may have about a 5% a lower complaint rate on that. So you kind of measure that, but you do address every person because every person is important.
Mr. Walker, does everyone on the board have your cell phone number? Okay. Then this is just my observation. I don't think that I'm the only one that use your cell phone number when I have a question or when I have something to say to you. You don't necessarily have to wait a month to a board meeting.
Under the Sunshine Law, I actually do have to wait because I can't discuss anything with my fellow board members. I'm sorry.
We don't necessarily have to wait a month. I'm not talking about discussing people's medical issues or coming here like that, but we can voice our concern about certain situations.
And the board has talked to me individually. I'm just saying, every board member has my information. And either they've talked to me, if it's clinical, I want to report to Susan or EMS. That way, if it's more of a medical side, Dr. Conrad is involved. But every board member has my information. So, yeah, we all, of course.
You and I talked. The situation I had, you and I talked, and you rectified it. And I really appreciate your care.
So I just want to reiterate, as a customer service point of view, any board member have any issue with the hospital in general, give me a call. But the community also, they call me too, so they know how to find me. So
I think I called you right away. You responded right away, and I appreciate that.
So that's good. So I just want to make sure we have those lines of communication open because we're trying to increase the level of health care here in our community. It's one bite at a time. And that's why we do these risk management reports. We're not going to be able to do it this afternoon.
Right.
So we can take a look at it.
That's what I was going to say to you. I don't think you've been here for the risk management portion of the executive meeting that we have, which is not open to the public. But that meeting, Courtney gets up there and tells us about everything that happened. Now, usually there's, 10 instances of things that happen. But I always ask, well, how many people actually came through the ER at that time? And there's maybe 500 people came through, right. And there's 10 instances. Yeah, and people that left without seeking service on their own. Yep, exactly, those kind of things, or a trip and fall. So I think that will be an eye opener for you too. Quarterly.
We have them quarterly.
We're supposed to have one today, but Courtney's out. So, but yes. That'll help.
And so normally
Yeah.
normally we deal with those kind of issues like that in that meeting. Also, when Dr. Conrad is here, he may bring up an issue, from the medical team to let the board know, let's say. But if any board member have anything, reach out to me, Courtney, and explain it, Susie and EMS. We have things over there posting on this.
In a situation like this, somebody has a stroke. People have strokes all the time. Okay. Now, they get shipped to Tallahassee, and then they go from this hospital to that hospital because of the fact that they can't. The first hospital doesn't treat this type of situation, so then they bring them back, and then they have to stay there a couple weeks to go through rehab and get their, I guess, world around them again. To bring them back home, where do they get that rehab here?
Yeah, they need to come back home. They can come here for swing bed, inpatient rehab. They can come back to Weems for that. And so, we work with those facilities to bring them back. Now, it's up to the family, because sometimes if the family is in Tallahassee, if you look at how beautiful Encompass is, you're like, man, that's a beautiful facility. The family may want to go there, but then they realize, that personal treatment is not there. So that's why they come here, and then we make that.
What insurances do we not take?
No, we take every insurance. Anytime a person is coming here, and Courtney and Heather is over there as well, even if the person don't have the ability to pay, if they're a Franklin County resident, they come here.
Does swing bed come into effect after they're released by the hospital and their rehab up there? In Tallahassee, if they're in Tallahassee, at that Capital Regional.
The Capital Regional swing bed does not kick in until they come into the facility here. They're medically clear to come in.
But the question is, when they release them after 2 weeks of rehab, do they have to come to this?
No, they can go home.
Okay. They go home. Now, where can they get, when they're at that home, where in their area do they get their rehab?
Okay, home health. Home health have a services county, and so they have therapists that go into the home. So they, yeah.
Now, I'll just throw this out here. I'm talking to a family that has a nurse as a wife. They can't find out who they go to here in the area to treat, for home health.
Yeah, so they should have connected, when they left that facility, of course, I can't talk for that facility, but when they left that facility, they should have been connected with a case manager at that facility should have connected them with home health. And then home health should have been coming into that community. So
They give you a case manager, and the family can talk to the case manager. I've been through that before.
But we probably can help them out. Just have them, although they're not our patient, but if they're in Franklin County, Courtney, no, we can swing out. We can help them connect with home health if we can. So have them contact Courtney. We can help them out.
Or their primary care can assign them home health with an order.
Because it may, and this is something that when I was with the health department, all right, what we try to do, we try to do like a one-stop shop referral base for the community. So situations like this, if somebody comes to their home, I'm trying to take care of my loved one, I would know where to refer them to at that time. But something fell through the cracks from the hospital they were at, from them coming home. But we should have something in our community that can help a parent, or not a parent, but a loved one, say, hey, I need this for my care.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
They don't know where to look for that
Yeah.
help. That's the problem. They don't know where to look for that help.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I'll just give me the information. We'll try to reach out to them.
I think it's in public general, because strokes happen all the time.
Okay. Well, I can look at, and what I'll do then, I'll talk with the health department, see what brochure they have, see how they can get that out in the community, really, because it's an issue.
Next door is still out there, and I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, okay.
So it's customer service thing took us to another level here.
No, I did, and Dr. Hart wants to say something. Go ahead, Doc. Get over at the microphone now.
With regard to somebody getting turned away, hopefully that does not wait a month or quarterly. That you have to track that down, who turned them away immediately. Otherwise, there'll be an extinction and nobody will know, there'll be nobody held accountable. But those two situations that you brought up are 3 minutes worth of work. Honestly, I mean, it's fast. But we don't need to wait for, and then get with Conrad, and it's so easy to track down because somebody's name's on that. Who turned them away and why? I mean, we gotta find that out immediately. So even though they were turned away, the hospital's still responsible. So,
Yeah, we can find out, so, yeah, we'll find all that out.
I didn't know we ever turned anybody away. That's the first time I've really heard about it. I don't know.
Well, we'll track it down. I can track it down. Ain't no problem.
Yeah, just let's see what happened there. It's always, somebody. Let me get back to what I was talking about. What I was talking about, and I'm gonna close it out here, is you do all the little things real good. The big things tend to fall in place, and that's just why I like to always think about customer service. How can we help these scared folks? I got to go here. I'm scared to death, and if my TV's not working on Saturday when the ball games are on, I'm not gonna be very, very happy. I mean, that's a little small thing, but damn, what do you got to do but sit there and look at them walls or something? You know what I'm talking about? I mean, so we need to get them out of there, do whatever we can within their bounds right there, and sometimes with paperwork. Some folks need help filling out the paperwork. They need help. Take your time and let's do little stuff like that. And don't send them to a computer and say, go to www what? I'm leaving then. Don't do it. No. Hell no. I don't do self-checkout. I pay to have somebody get my groceries. I don't go do all that. I never get through self-checkout without something going wrong. Or I think I'm going to walk out and steal something and get locked up for it. I mean, that's just me. And most of our patients are just like me. I guarantee you.
Do we have someone, say a patient comes in, they don't have any insurance or Medicaid, do we have someone in-house that can help them through that process so that they can apply for Medicaid or insurance?
Sorry, I just wanted to interject. If you hear anybody about any complaints about EMS, the ambulance crews being this bad bedside manners, good bedside manners, whatever, just give me a call personally. So I need to know about these things also.
Okay, question was asked there. What'd you ask?
And we are looking at
Yes, you said yes.
No, we don't have anybody yet, but we are looking at the things that are coming up.
Okay, good. That's great. Okay, I'm on. At least I want us to talk about it. And Dr. Hart, just tell your doctors how important they are to that person scared to death. They're like up there on a pedestal. I mean, they are the most important person in them doctors' lives at this moment. They need to remember that. Pat themselves on the back. They went to school 20 years to be that way. So they need to think of themselves as how important they are to this patient. I mean, that's something, a load to carry. But I think particularly emergency room doctors, that's the load you have to carry, and think about it that way. Think about how scared these folks are. I mean, and so anyway, I'm through with that. But I'm gonna have this on the agenda every month just to talk about it. And a little things. It don't have to be regimented. See somebody needs a little help. And one thing I have noticed before we get through is how friendly the staff is now when you come in. They don't know me. How you doing? Can I help you? Really, you can tell it's an atmosphere. We got to work on that. Clinic, same way, friendly, and that goes a long way. But think about the reason you do business the second time at a place. Customer care. I mean, you don't care at that store that the bleach costs a quarter more. You go to where somebody's going to help you out. But, okay. Next item on the agenda would be the Susie. the clinic report. Thank you, Doc.
First meeting back, you get a lot of questions, Doc. So your first meeting back here, you get a lot of questions.
Good morning. I'll make it really quick because I see you looking at your watch, and
I was
I only have a few
just
things.
making sure it was still morning.
Just two brief things. One is that it was brought up yesterday at the commissioners' meeting. Yes, our phone system is in place, but it is an adjustment time for patients who've gotten used to having a phone number on caller ID. It's not the same. It's the same main phone numbers for every department, but it's not the same number for the extension. So people would see on caller ID if we had a rollover number, and they would call that number. So now people are calling that number, and it's defunct. So it's not that they're not getting through to us; is they're calling old numbers. So everybody just has to get used to the new phone system. And there's only two prompts. You're either going to get the front desk in the clinic setting, you're going to get the front desk, or you're going to get a nurse, and that's it. And you may not get a live person right away because of the fact that those nurses are working the floor, they're working the clinics. So they get to you within 24 hours, 48 hours tops. Okay, but it's little things that would help if people called the pharmacies for refills to have them reach out to us electronically. Those are things we've posted, but like I said, it's still, you may hear some things in the background from patients they're not getting through. They're getting through, they're just used to the old system. So it's change, and change is always hard, right? So there's that, and then we talked about no-show fees last time. So just to give you an idea, in March, the numbers that I have for that, we had 72 no-shows.
Wow.
That's between the two clinics and the labs that we do in the clinics and the providers. So that's why we implemented that fee, just to get a point so that people understand to respect the provider's time and that it offers time for patients in the community to be able to come in. So we are still working with getting people signed up for the no-show fee, but it's just so you guys understood that number. Like I just ran this morning, and just for April, even though we started telling people April 1st, we're still at 66 no-shows in April. So it is important to do that so people understand that we need to, as we're growing and we're seeing more patients, we need to respect the time and the fact that we still have just those two providers seeing all these patients. We had a 25% increase, still those two providers. So, any questions about anything?
Yeah, one thing, Susie, at the Board of County Commissioners meeting, they talked about, I think Ricky brought it up, that what if we had early morning hours for walk-in, like have a specific 9 to 10 walk-in time, and then had the rest of the appointments for the day. What's your thoughts on that?
That would be a good thought if we had a normal population with that. A lot of, we don't have the volume in this community of patients to dedicate, I think, so I've been in the medical field for 44 years, my entire life, so I do know a little bit about it. But in our clinic setting, to dedicate 2 hours of time, as you see with the no-shows, imagine that if we didn't have our regular visits in that time frame, the amount of people that we would not be seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done things like we increased the lab draw hours from 7:30 to 11:30, so we do that kind of thing. But I think we would have to play with it a little bit, and we are still the only people in Franklin County that offer walk-ins throughout the day.
Yeah.
We do that for our patients, even for tourists. So I think we have to give a little thought that we do that, and the providers do a great job of doing that. But if somebody comes to me at 11:55 and says, oh, I have a skin, and I've had this happen, I have a skin tag on my neck, and I'm on my lunch break, can you all take it off? That's common sense things, too, that we have to put out there, too, for our care. We have to guide patients. Maybe that's not an appropriate time to do an urgent visit for a skin tag, right? So those are the kind of things that we still deal with every day. And I think the two providers that we have do an excellent job. The staff does an excellent job. So bear in mind that, yes, and if anyone has a problem, they can't get in, then please call me. I'll get you in the best way that I can, but appropriate. Because I wouldn't want to not have patients that are working patients be able to do their annual at 8 o'clock in the morning because we're waiting on sick people to come in between those 2 hours. So we're still going to work with it. We do, but I can tell you right now, from my experience, we do get people in that are ill. But it's also a thought process. You have to understand patients wait till the last minute. And, oh, I've been sick for 7 days and I need a work note, but I'm going to get in late in the day so I can get that work note to cover me for the entire week. So that's kind of what we deal with on the other side of the thing, too. The picture.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted you to be able to address that.
No,
Yeah, we got to look
and
at,
we,
yeah, that's something that we also still want to look at, you know what I mean? Kind of hot in here, but it feels good to me. But,
yeah, thank you. I'm turning red here. I feel it already.
But we still may want to look at, you know, how do we address, you know, the walk-in, you know, that type of deal, you know, on our schedule. That'll be a part also as we begin to look at our clinic, you know, as we begin
With the
doing
growth,
this.
yeah. With the
Are we
providers.
still looking for providers?
Yeah,
in
we're
our
still looking for
clinic?
providers, and we have, you know, like I said yesterday in our meeting, we do have Amanda Page, who's there for 2 days. So we alternate her between east and west. She has a day dedicated to each, so it can support the providers because we are growing. So as we go and as we implement more and can find another provider to add that support, we'll do
Yeah,
that.
like I said, we'll look at that. And while Susan's up there on my report, we did have a physician that reached out to us from South Florida. He was interested in relocating to this area. And so we will invite him up here and do a tour. You know, if he likes it, you know, we'll see if we can get him on board here.
See if we can find him somewhere to live.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Find a place to live there at the clinic. Also, during this legislative session, the Senate bill that has some money for rural hospitals, rural communities, and one of those part of those monies we're going to identify we'll purchase a mobile bus, a medical bus. And so I'm thinking about, you know, if the funding is approved through the legislature, we apply for it, get it, and maybe to do some medical bus throughout the county. You know, maybe put on the island, you know, put on Lennox Village, go to Ellicott Point, you know, just different hot pockets in that area. So that's something we're down the road, but we're looking at that. Maybe
Only if I get to drive it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're looking to increase access to care. I mean, that's the bottom line. We want to increase access to care in our communities. You know, we really want to build our clinics up. You know, because we see that population growing. Fiscal year, in the end of fiscal year 2024, both clinics had an increase of 20% visits from October to March 30th of this fiscal year. Fairville East has seen an increase of about 11%, and West of Indianapolis has seen an increase of probably about 9%. So you see, you know, those increased visits are there, and so we just want to make sure we continue to work that we can.
Yeah, and also Dr. Catlin is no longer in that area, so East is getting a little bit more pressure on them, right? So, yeah.
So that's probably going to go even higher. Right.
And the contracts that are changing with the insurance companies, so patients have to find good primary care.
Yeah, and that's one of the things Susie, you know, she knows a lot about the clinic side with the insurances as well, because when you're in the clinic, your insurance may play a role in what kind of service, especially if you're visiting the area. You know, they won't pay for a visit at the clinic, and they may be higher, and they'll tell those patients to go to the ED for those kind of services.
Right, or they recognize that we're not truly in urgent care, so they can either go to an emergency room, but they can't go primary care to primary care. But we give them the option of paying out of pocket and then taking their information with them and filing to their insurance company.
Or some people,
yeah, some
I
people
think
have
some
travelers
people think
insurance.
that you're in urgent care.
Right,
in our
right.
community. They
I
assume
think
that we're
originally,
urgent.
years and years ago, they
Yes,
set
ma'am.
up that building up in Carabel to be that,
Right.
but there is certain qualifications that you have to have a physician on staff all the time. You have to have radiology there every single day and casting. There's a lot of different things that didn't come to fruition, so maybe in the future we can do that.
Well, I think you do a wonderful job, Susie, and we appreciate you.
And I'm gonna, that sounds like a great idea to have a walk-in time.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if 12 show up?
That's right.
You know, and then if nobody shows up, you've got 2 providers sitting there doing nothing.
Right. Well, they're never
Right.
doing nothing, but yes, we're
Well,
not seeing patients, actively seeing patients, right.
Not generating any, you know, any
Right.
business, you know.
Or
So,
taking care of
that'd
people is
be-
really
I don't
what
know
we
how
do,
you-
so,
I'm
yeah.
trying to figure how you do that. I don't know how you do it. Maybe there's a way, but I don't.
I know Dr. Farr from 8 to 9, he has acute care where you can walk in, so that might be something
But
we
he
could
has-
explore and ask him how it works.
Right, but they also have, then they cut you off. They have a line, they're primary care, but they have a different amount of staff too. So you can't you have to really think about those background things, right?
We'll look
Any
Yeah,
other
thank you.
questions?
at that.
No?
We'll increase SSP. That's
Any
bottom
ice
line.
packs?
Before you pass out.
Is it too hot for y'all in here?
Turn it down.
Well, I turned it where the fan wasn't automatic. No, I didn't turn it off. I'm not. Do you want the, I turned the fan.
Summer is what he
I-
did.
Call to order, call to order. Okay, there we go. Now we can hang, in 5 minutes, we can hang meat in here. Okay, EMS report, Ms. Osteen.
Good morning. All right, I'm gonna start off with just, I wasn't here last month because we had a death in the EMS family. Joe Bush passed away unexpectedly, so we had a funeral and stuff during the last board meeting. Currently I have 2 vacancies open, actually 3, but one will be filled now that I've just released my new captain. He'll be released next shift. So 2 vacancies, 2 paramedic vacancies still open. I've hired several PRN paramedics. I've got a couple coming in this next week for their core oncoming. I got a couple that are, I guess we're still waiting to have cleared. Most of them they're reluctant at this time to come full time because of the not knowing right now what's going on with the county. Community outreach. We've had several CPR classes in the last couple months. Most recently was at the high school for the 9th and 11th graders, which I guess required now for them to be promoted to the following the grades. March 2025 ended with we had 109 billable reports, 142 total patient contacts, made a 77% transport. Currently in April, we're currently sitting at a 78% transport rate. Overtime, it's slowly. It's slowly turning around. Just this last pay period we're in, I had a total of 336 hours of vacancies. So that was a lot of overtime I had to give out to cover shifts. To the tune of actually 297 and a half hours. That was just time off. That was filling vacancies. That was call outs. So keep us running, keep us moving forward. We had to do what we had to do. At the board meeting, Louis put together a presentation for the transition update on EMS in County. So if y'all have your packets, I'm not sure if y'all have packets.
I should be in here. Ellen, did we give them this EMS? I think I emailed y'all.
Okay.
When I get y'all, if you need a hard copy, let me know.
You did.
You did get an email.
So it was in the transition. Our current needs right now, the main current need we need is the COPCN, which is it's going to be issued by the county. The certificate of just like that. It's in my mind. Certificate of Public Conveyance and Necessity form. It's issued by the county governing board, and it gives EMS the permission to provide transport within that county. That's the first thing we need. After that, next thing we're going to need is the medical director to come on board. We have him now, but we have to have a contract with him on the county side also, which he has agreed to do with no additional cost, just to get us moving that direction. And this we have to have for the DEA licensing, stuff that he's got to take care of on his end. After that, we're looking at billing companies. We've pretty much whittled it down to 2 billing companies. Currently, I think we're looking at Digitech and also MBS, which is who we used before, I think it was.
We do it internally with MBS TrueBridge.
Yes, TrueBridge.
But we did do it.
These are things that you're talking about are, once the county's made a decision to bring EMS under the county ban?
And all this has got to be done before we can actually go county. I mean, to start October 1, say October 1, we have to have all this in place, so it takes effect October 1.
And does the county know this?
Yes. This was brought up yesterday in the county meeting. State requirements are also, we're still trying to get with the state of Florida about the communications part of it. From what Weems Communication has told me, they've said that we do not need an additional FCC license because we are on the SLURS system. And currently we're using the Weems hospital. They have an FCC license for their UHF, VHF, and there's also a SLURS, which is where we're at. So the hospital will retain the current FCC license, which is licensed under Weems Hospital. They said that we don't have to have an additional FCC license because that's taken care of at the state level on the SLURS system. But we're trying to confirm that.
James, just explain to them what you're saying. They may not know the EMS terminology, communications, what's Williams.
So Williams Communications is the company that we all use for our radio systems.
So how does that affect anything? I mean, I would think it's status quo.
It won't be status quo because we're pulling away from the hospital. So the hospitals, everything hospital is
Let's talk
separate.
about that concept. You're pulling away from a fund. There's not a hospital, there's a hospital fund, and it's still owned by the county. I don't understand that type of logic, I'm sorry.
It's probably, well, that's what the state is saying, that, hey, you know what I mean, you all need to have, the state may see it differently than how we see it.
I would ask that question.
Well, we will essentially be our own entity under the county. So we won't have any, per se, ties to the hospital anymore.
Who's going to pay you, the county or
County.
the hospital tax?
County we're already county employees, as is, so.
But who's going to pay your bills? Is it the county's hospital tax? Or is that something the county's going to just put the bill for, period? And we keep all this intact over here for the hospital.
Does that come out of the outlay tax?
No, okay, right now, EMS gets $764,000. Now, that doesn't cover EMS at all. They just cover a portion of it. That comes out of the healthcare sales tax money there.
And all their other expenses too.
No. EMS pays, the hospital pays the expenses. EMS budget.
But how do you
But it's
pay
not
for
going to
it?
be, down the road, it won't be that way. When they separate, it's not going to be that way.
When they
Is that what you're
separate,
saying?
what John is just saying, whole pool, one fund, basically. But from my understanding, EMS would be a separate entity to the county, like the road department, like the emergency management department. That is not tied to our hospital. They'll be their own separate entity.
But the funding for them, does it not come out of the hospital tax?
From my gathering, it comes out of the 1 cent sales tax.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, 764.
Yeah, so it comes out of there.
Yeah.
Now, financially, physically, it comes out of that sales tax, that 1 cent sales tax. Whether it's us or whether it's the county, it's going to come out of there. All we're doing is shifting the banner of the employees away from
the PEO, the lease
from
employee.
the leasing employees
Right.
to put them under the county banner.
But if the state, under their licensure, is telling them that you all need to have your own system, not tied to the hospital.
Well, that's what we were sort of talking about. And they're telling, Williams Communications is telling me, no, we don't have to have that
But the state
extra
agency-
FCC license, which is, they said the FCC portion of that is already covered on the state level through the slurs radio system. We'll still be able to communicate with Weems. We'll have our own radio channel. We won't have the Weems dispatch radio channel anymore. We'll have our own radio channel as a county entity, but we'll still have Weems 1 where we'll switch over and we'll be able to talk to the hospital, give med reports, or we can even have Med 8, the Med 8 channel, which is a required, it's a federal regulation for the Med 8 channel, and we can always use that Med 8 if nothing else. But that's why the hospital has to retain the FCC that they have now is for the UHF, VHF, is that they're required to have the Med 8. That's just so if any other agency comes in, say, I don't know, Calhoun County comes in or somebody else transports it to Weems, then they have to have
I'm not going to
communications.
question, but I just don't understand. All you're doing is physically shifting the banner of the employees under the county. Everything else is staying the same.
Yeah, so we'll make that determination.
Maybe you know something different.
Well, I don't know if I know anything different, but I'm just thinking from a billing. So who's going to handle the billing, the collections, and so forth?
Okay, EMS will handle their own billing and collections.
Yeah.
Away
So
from
when you
the
think
hospital.
when you think operationally, I mean, if it's unwinding from the hospital relationship, and operationally, there's a lot than just shifting employees, away from a leasing company. So operationally, there's a lot of things that have to occur.
Did we expect that type of disconnect or pulling apart when we started pushing this concept? Because what's pushing the concept is the overtime. In the 4896 is what we're trying to achieve, but it sounds like to me now that it's more tentacles involved in the underlines than what I expected.
It could be, but I think another reason for the push is sustainability for EMS.
For what?
Sustainability.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a push. But I think when you begin to break things apart, there's a lot of other things you have to come into play. That you may not have thought of in a way. But for as the billing piece, we will continue to bill, and then when EMS gets transitioned to able to bill on their own, you know what I mean? It'll be like hopefully a seamless transition.
And everything that up to October 1st, previous to that, Weems Hospital will be responsible for retaining all those records because it's technically Weems Ambulance Service / Franklin County EMS. So the hospital will have to retain all the records from that point prior.
And after October 1, it's all.
That's what we're shooting for now. October 1, the new fiscal year is what our goal is.
Does the county commission know that when you separate the EMS, bring the employees over, because that was my understanding, was strictly an employee movement, that all of these other functions are going to shift?
Yes. Yes. Like I said, Louis did this same presentation yesterday. Yes, they're aware of all this. The structuring we're looking at, just to give some basics on the terminology of BLS, ALS. Basic life support will be 2 EMTs on a truck that can do minimal amount of skills, no big interventions. They can start IVs, they can't push drugs, they can't do anything like that. They can basically get blood pressures, just do basic stuff, just transport to the hospital. Right, just the basic first aid stuff. The ALS is advanced life support. That's where your paramedic and EMT, the paramedic skills, intubations, your IVs, your pushing of drugs, your cardiac monitoring, all that stuff. That's where the ALS comes in. And then they have on here a captain response or a chase truck, which is what the county kind of understands better than when I say QRV or quick response vehicle. But anyway, this is the supervisor truck that we have. So looking at the structuring, we're comparing ours to, well, kind of comparing, not really, but kind of comparing to Gulf County, Calhoun County, and Wakulla, just to give an idea of what they do. They have, Gulf County has 3 ALS ambulances currently with no chase truck, but they are looking at implementing that soon. Calhoun County runs 2 ALS ambulances and 1 transfer truck, which can go, they'll do transfers all throughout. They'll go from Calhoun to Pensacola to Jacksonville to wherever on their transfer trucks if needed. And then Wakulla County, of course, they're being fire and rescue. They have 4 ALS ambulances that are on the road at all times. Total call volume and billing. We broke down all their total 911 calls to their total transports for 2024, and where we're standing there with Gulf County, they're at 3,419 911 calls to 2,650 transports. Calhoun County had 2,931 total 911 calls to 2,449 transports. Wakulla had 5,200 911 calls with 3,300 transports. And we're sitting at 1,845 911 calls to 1,200 transports. So that's one side of that double-edged sword I was talking about.
Do those 1,200 transports include those people that declined?
No, sir.
Those 1,800.
Right, it's 1,845 total calls. The 1,200 is actual transports to hospitals.
Yeah.
Given those, that's calls per ambulance per day, averaging for Gulf County is 3 calls per truck per day. Calhoun's averaging 4 calls per truck per day. Wakulla's averaging 4 per truck per day, and we're averaging 2 per truck per day.
And what's the break-even point? How many calls do they have to make a day to break even for all their expenses and so forth?
I don't know exactly. I'd have to get with Wakulla. I'd have to get with Louis on those. I'm sure he broke it down someplace. He didn't bring that up. He didn't put that in part of this. I know for us, it's probably I would say we probably need at least 2 per truck per day, or 2 to 3 per truck per day. Actually for three trucks. So if we do 6, 7 calls a day, we could probably do it.
As long as those 6, 7 calls a day are paid.
If they're paid, yeah, as long as they're paid.
Right. That's the other half of the coin, right?
Yeah. And then this is the other side of that double-edged sword. Those 2 were the numbers and the percentages. Mm-hmm. The other side of this is mileage.
Yeah.
So mileage.
Yeah.
So average loaded miles per transport that we do here in Franklin is 40 miles on average. That's per transport. Wakulla is 25, Calhoun's 30, and Gulf is 25. And that is because we have a transport distance from Weems to TMH is 80 miles. From Weems to Bay Medical is 57 miles. From Weems to Gulf Coast is 62 miles. From Carabel to TMH is 57 miles, and from Carabel to Weems is 23 miles. So just humping. Whereas Calhoun has 40 miles to Bay and 54 miles to TMH, and Gulf has 35 miles to Bay and roughly 40 miles to Gulf, where they transport to. So that's the other edge is the distance. It's just the sheer distance that we have to transport. And then that's not including standing on the wall for an hour, two and a half hours. Which I've literally stood on the wall at TMAs for 2.5 hours waiting to get at the yard because they're slack.
Wheaton, to
Well,
give
what
you,
happens is if the hospital, if the ER is full and they've got observation beds and there's literally not an available bed to put a patient, ambulance.
We literally park our stretcher with the
against
patient
stretcher, and
next to
sometimes
the wall,
nurses-
and we just stand there and wait for
Right,
for
they
a
don't
bed.
have IVs. Usually if you've got a good ER doc, we'll go ahead and start care on that stretcher, but we don't have a bed to put them in, but they can't leave until they turn the care over to us and we have a bed, so they're stuck there for a couple hours.
Right, because once we get to, say, TMAs, we can't leave, we can't say, well, they're full, we gotta go to the other hospital.
Right,
We
you
can't
can't
do that.
abandon your patient, you have to stay with the patient. So they're stuck there for sometimes hours, and that's not their fault. That's because the hospital's full.
Just, I mean, they all get full and you just have a wait time. Structuring also, so we're looking at, we laid out 3 different options for the county to look at on the structuring, the remodeling or structuring aspect. First is how we currently are run with 3 ambulances, 3 ALS ambulances, and 1 captain per shift. So we're looking at 9 paramedics, 9 EMTs, and 3 captains. 9 medics, 9 EMTs, and 3 captains. And the director spot. So that's a total of 22 full-time employees we're looking at. And an estimated total cost after whatever revenue we have is 1.8, maybe say 1.9 million.
And that covers the 4896,
That covers the 4896 hour shifts.
which extends the overtime amount before overtime kicks in.
Right. But where we're at right now, I mean, there's no good way because we don't have anybody that lives in the county. I mean, we have 4 employees that live in Frederick County. Everybody else comes in from the county. So we just. And the way it breaks down, if you want to, is 9 medics is $630,000, 9 EMTs is $531,000, 3 captains is $228,000. Director, we can't do. This is using what we project the numbers are going to be on the county side. Director, we don't know what the salary is going to be for that yet. Total operations, we're going with $300,000 to be on the safe side, I think. FRS, that's another big chunk is $483,000. FICA's FRS is $483,000
a year, right?
That's per year on this
Employee
structure.
base, on that employee base.
Right. Yes, on the employee base. Now, less employees would be, it's based on their how much they make. FICA is $112,000, and health insurance, all your benefits, another $219,000, which totals $2.6 million. And then you take billing minus that, leaves us with $1.9 million. The other structure is 3 ambulances with no captain. It's just simply 9 paramedics, 9 EMTs, a director spot, which would give you 19 full-time employees. Your estimated total cost after billing would be $1.5 million. Again, breaking it down, the same breakdown. With operations, FRS would be $408,000. So you're saving yourself about 80. Not quite 80, well, about 80,000 FRS. FICA is a little less, health is a little less because of less employees. So you're looking at a total of 2.2 million minus billing. And billing, we use 700,000 just as a low. We kind of lowballed billing. And so the amount we would need from the county would be about 1.5 million to do that structure. Then the last one we presented to them was 2 ambulances. 1 captain truck per shift, which is 3 captains, the director spot, and that would give you 6 paramedics, 6 EMTs, 1 director, 3 captains, that's 16 full-time employees. Estimated after billing would be 1.3 million. Total with all the FRS and everything added would be 1.9, right at 2 million minus billing, so three, what you'd be looking at on the, which would be required by the county. I can tell you what the county has offered so far, what their number is. That's about what we would have to do. 2 ambulances. I've heard a lot of grumblings already, not within, but outside, but just the public itself. It's like, so how much is a life worth? I've actually heard that.
How much is what?
How much is a life worth? How much is a person's life worth?
Well, that argument's only in support of it, right?
Well, I would think that they're like, well, they want something. They all want 3 ambulances. They want everything the way it is now. You're taking something away, so essentially they're looking at structuring it to put 1 truck in East Point, 1 truck in Caravel, and the chase vehicle or the QRV ALS truck, non-transport truck in Appalachian Coal.
So this is a different structure.
This is the last one that we presented.
So this structure, the last structure that the county probably is willing to go is 2 ambulances in the shelter. Caravel, East Point, 2 ambulances and 1 truck, chase truck here.
The ALS chase truck here.
And then you only need 1.2 million in the county here. So you do 1.2 million minus the 764, that's coming from the trust fund.
And I don't think we get the trust fund anymore once we get a county.
What makes me nervous is, what makes me kind of nervous is you got only 2 ambulances
In the county. You're standing on the wall at TMH for 3 hours. That means we have 1 ambulance in the county. I don't think, I'm sorry, from a clinical standpoint, that doesn't seem viable to me. And that's not your fault that you're at TMH or Bay. I've worked at both.
Right.
And they're both insanely busy. So for you to stand on the wall and the county's left with 1 ambulance.
Maybe. As if they're not on another call someplace else.
Yeah, correct.
But,
That's a huge problem.
And it's all about the money. Of course, that's what their county's been pushing. It's money, 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 money. And it is money, but again, it's personal safety also. It's people you got to think about also. So it's again, that double-edged sword. I keep using that term a lot, but that's where we stand with it. It's just, there's no good way around it. There's no good way to it.
Where is the funding for this coming? I hate to ask that question because I had the concept in my mind that it came out of the hospital tax. Now, I don't have that same feeling now.
Well, of course, I don't know. I'm not the county. But I was thinking, I hadn't been involved with where the money's going to come. But I know there's $764,000 that comes from the healthcare trust fund now that goes to EMS.
But that 764 used to come from the county as of this past year. They made a decision to take it out of the hospital tax now.
Yes.
Okay, so they have to supplement that 764 from the hospital tax with whatever number they come up with is how they're going to run the ambulances and the staffing. But it's still going to come out of the hospital tax. Now, am I wrong?
So you're saying the 764 is still going to be.
Because it comes out. It comes out. Yeah, it comes out of hospital tax now.
Where's the additional money going to come from that's going to be needed to support?
Where's it been coming from?
Hospital
Huh.
operations.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, no more. They can pick it up themselves.
That ain't happening.
Well, the hospital, once EMS is broken out, the hospital cannot, but we're not going to be able to cover that cost. EMS is not a department of the hospital, it's a department of the county. I think the 521, I know what you're talking about, I know what you're going to talk. All right, so the 520, the additional 5, if they go to this model, 2 ambulances, 1 captain, 1.2. All right, 764, that is already accounted for, 764 out of that 1.2. So that $521,000, where's that 521 coming from? Hospital. It could come from the hospital tax, you know, it could. I'm just saying, it's not gonna come from our, hospital operations fund, because the hospital operations have always covered the shortage of EMS. Right, yeah. So it'll have to come out there, it'll have to come out the healthcare sales tax fund. And that's what I'm saying, that's not my decision to make, but.
But it's coming from there today, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't think anything changed.
Yeah, I don't think it.
Even though you put them under the umbrella of the county.
The hospital's still gonna pick up the.
Right, it's still healthcare.
Yeah, it's just not gonna come out of our, the shortage that they have will not come out of the hospital operation piece of the money.
What does that mean?
Okay, that means that we have a.
I'll dig into it, John. You know, I'll find out.
But
I mean, I'll-
traditionally, let me just clear this up. Okay, you have, the hospital have an operation fund that governs, that refunds the operation of the hospital. All right, then you have a healthcare sales tax fund, separate from the 1 cent sales tax, capital that funds the capital outlay portion for the hospital, now it funds EMS as well. Okay, what I'm saying is that, you know, now when EMS falls short on their budget items, the hospital internal operations budget covers EMS. All right, when EMS transitions to the county, the hospital internal operations budget is not able to carry EMS. That money would then probably come from the.
That would take it offline, but that's what I don't understand. Nothing's changed. Why can't it? But let's take it offline. We're taking up too much time.
Okay, I agree. We're talking about stuff we don't have much control over anyway. Go ahead. I do have one thing to add, though. Talk about that. Our average distance was 40 miles, right?
Yes.
Means the ambulance gotta leave, go there, street, come back here. So, one call's gonna probably take 2.5, 3 hours?
one call from, say, Weems to Tallahassee?
No, not Tallahassee. I mean a routine call.
Just routine? Yeah, I mean, routines from, say, worst case, Carabel, let's just first say, Carabel to Weems, turnaround
You gotta
time.
get there and all that stuff. But you're talking
Probably
about.
about an hour and a half.
We have
by the
2
time you get
ambulances.
there.
You're talking about a routine day. We down to 1 ambulance all the time, possibly none. With that 40-mile thing, that's what I'm looking at, you know? And, that does concern me right there. I have a concern about that. Seems like that's as hard as we worked over the years to build that up, and we have. Everybody has, all the folks working. I'm just a little concerned about that. Okay? Bring it up. 40 miles is a lot of.
Eye-opening.
We have a huge county.
We do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. We got a big county.
We have
And-
Gulf,
And
from the bridge from Wakulla to Gulf, 70-mile stretch.
I'm just saying it's a big county, and so you got a lot of time involved where ambulances are tied up. You know, the number of calls, 1.83 or something like that. That just about takes up most of a day for an ambulance. I mean, you know, 2, 6, over a couple hours in there. 3. Okay,
Takes up a lot.
it does. You got to, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item on is the, Greg Gibson.
It's still morning.
Barely. That's good.
I'm going to add one more thing to this debacle with the EMS. Fire department. We had a fire on the bridge the other day. They're on standby with us until we release them, 2-3 hours.
That's the way it works, isn't
It
it?
does.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
I guess most accidents, they do respond there. A lot of
yeah.
them. Didn't even think about that.
You look like you had a question.
No, that's that burn spot I saw out there.
Yes.
Yeah, I wondered
Yeah,
what happened.
On the bridge.
Yeah, on the side, yeah.
I saw that
5:30 in the
too.
morning. Yeah. All right, I got a short one. The generators for the hospital and the clinics, they're still on time, it looks like. They just installed the emergency shutoff switches and the alarm switches at both places just the other day. Generators are still expected in about 10 weeks. Still on, point with it. Our CT project in here is still on point. I've been in contact with them for the past couple of weeks off and on, giving them some more information. They're still waiting on the final release from ACA, but we're still good. Everything looks good. Their still starting date is still June the 1st, is where they're still at. On Susie's thing about the phones, over here for the most part, we're kind of narrowing it down. We haven't had a whole lot of issues. I think people are getting used to using these phones. Different buttons are in a different place, and basically that's all it is. But everybody's getting well used to it now, and I think I've only had maybe 2 calls for, hey, can you fix this? And so it's been getting better. We did have to, Duffy, you're going to like this. We did.
Money.
Money.
Here it goes. Here it comes.
We did, unfortunately, have to put in a new air conditioner system over here at Weems West. So while we were doing it, I'm always trying to think ahead and do better. We did put in a dehumidifier, and we put in an air scrubber. That air scrubber has 3 different type filters in it, and it's going to scrub that air. It's going to take care of your dust, your dander, smaller particles. It's got a molecular filter, a HEPA filter, and a pre-filter. We'll have to change that out in about 5 to 6 years. The dehumidifier is going to take that moisture out of that building. And I'm getting a quote to go ahead and put 3 other dehumidifiers in the other units because we have a lot of moisture in that building. And as we replace units here, we'll do the same thing one at a time. We'll do it in the capital budget. Yeah.
And is it drained to the outside then directly?
It drains right into the pan that the air conditioner sits in.
Yeah.
Drains right into that as well. It's a separate unit that sits up on the wall, and the drain pipe goes right to that drain that the air conditioner sits in itself.
Yeah.
Drains right into there, and then it comes outside to a drain. Yep.
Who services are there?
Decent heating in there. I got a couple of different quotes on this, and they still come in the low ball. They were $12,000. The other 2 that I got was $12,250 and $12,500.
And also looking at, just people consistency. Many times you call companies, they put you on a 6-month, 8-month waiting list sometimes. But, the clinic over here, that's an old clinic over there. So I'm glad we're doing some work over there. Matter of fact, Greg will be getting ready to move in my office. Make preparation.
What? You're
CT
moving?
trainer. So I'll be over there with Susie, bothering the clinic people. I'm sure they probably don't want to see me.
They've done all that because you're moving over, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Now you got it.
Now you see the inside deal.
Yeah.
Well, wait. I need to make sure all the air flowing good over there.
Yeah, you don't want to be over there.
I don't want to be putting
Bad air.
I think doing that everywhere is a good idea. Save equipment. We got a lot of equipment stuff. And we do live in a very humid environment.
We do. If you'll notice, sometimes this floor will be real slick when we cut this humidifier off, and that's the reason for this. As we replace, we're going to go bigger, better. So it's going to cost us a little bit in the long run, but we'll figure it out as we go.
And the buildings, all of our buildings, we're trying to make some improvements to, Fairville location, our best location. With the new, we get some new grant money also, infrastructure. We're going to look, we do these bathrooms we have for patients. That's one of the main complaints we get, patient restrooms. We just need to do something with that. Just leaving TMH, this week, and all these other new hospitals I go to, I'm like, Lord have mercy, you really got to come up. To be honest with you, let me get off my soapbox.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
All right, let me just get off my soapbox. Okay. All right.
Yeah. One more thing, we are chiming in with what David was saying. I am in plans right now to renovate a bathroom down here. We're going to make it a walk-in shower. I've talked to David, and I talked with ACA, and they said that we could probably do this in-house without all the architects and all that. So I am working on that. It's going to be a 6-week table review, hopefully, so that way we don't have to have an architect and spend all that money on that. So
What
when we
Craig
can
means
do
by
it
that,
in-house.
table, it's an ACA table desk review.
Yeah.
You can review it, but we got to do that. I mean, the tub, let's build a walk-in shower in here.
Yeah.
Patients trying to lift their legs up.
Yep. Yeah. Everything I've seen so far, we had Gary Gargus, an architect that helps us a lot on some of these decisions. He's sent me all the information on it, and it looks just like what Scott Walt, yeah, with ACA has told me.
That's ACA building sheet.
Yeah, yeah. It looks just like what he's told me. Scott Waltz, yeah, with ACA. That's who David and I talked to a lot. And then who's the other guy? Got his name. With ACA.
One that does all inspections.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
But
Scott's been really good.
But Scott, but Scott is the boss of the whole building and design for the whole state.
Right.
I kind of like calling him.
Yeah. Yeah. He gets us back to us pretty quick so we can move on. And that's all. Unless y'all got something else for me? Okay. All right. Thank y'all.
Is there an early warning system for when David is going to go over there to the clinic so people know he's coming?
Dude, I can take care of that. It's going to be Susie. Actually, I think we're planning like the first week of May.
Susie only takes 2 hours now for day at lunch. Anyway. Okay, next is David Bowling, CFO, Alliant Management. All right, well, I'll try to keep it brief, but obviously, feel free to ask questions and so forth. And you should have the financial packet in the board packet. Just to start with for the month, looking at the month of March, again, this is what we're discussing today, the month of March of 2025, which is 6 months into the fiscal year end, and I'll give everybody a chance to flip to the comparative income statement.
Is that in the Alliant section?
Yeah, I brought my book.
Comparative consolidated monthly income statement. The mouthful. CCMIS.
And built in what comparative consolidated, what that entails. Consolidated is the hospital, the EMS, and the clinics all included.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so looking at the March 2025 month performance, again, we're 6 months into the fiscal year, 9/30 fiscal year end. For the month of March, the hospital did finish, and the bottom line number, the consolidated net income did finish at a positive $979,000 net income for the month, and well exceeded budget, and obviously helped both push the year-to-date number to a positive 519 as well. Now, I will go into some details because there were a couple of anomalies during the month that I will explain, and you'll see that reflected in the non-operating revenue just up above. But just starting on the income statement there and walking down and giving some highlights for the month and the performance and so forth. And you should see also within your board packet, we do have these notes listed in the packet, so just to kind of, again, help with the review process. But breaking down the revenue for the month, the hospital did exceed budgeted revenue. And within the categories of our swing bed program and our med surge, our inpatient-related revenue was up over $181,000 versus our budget for the month. So that was, again, a strong performance from an overall revenue standpoint, for the hospital. You look at it exceeded, again, from an overall standpoint, consolidated standpoint, did exceed budget by $23,000, exceeded the prior year, same period in the prior year, by $143,000, and so forth. So again, a good, strong revenue-producing month. What contributed, as I just mentioned about, the swing bed program. When you look at the swing bed program statistics for the month, or the patient days for the month for the swing beds, you'll see that in your packet as well. The swing beds were up 65% versus budget. Finished the month at 43 patient days on a budget of 26 patient days. Again, that's again strong performance versus what we had budgeted. Our med surge, or the inpatient acute area, finished at 21 patient days on a budget of 16. So again, exceeded budget there as well, and up over 50% where we were at this time last year. So again, strong inpatient performance. Observation did contribute as well, and observation did finish just over three patient days over budget, which was 38%, or 4 versus last year, a 57% increase. Some areas, though, that we did see some decreases within our revenues related to our emergency room department. We did see lesser visits, about 11% decline in visits from where we had budgeted, and about a 3% decline in visits from where we were this time last year. Outpatient activity also was down about 12% versus what we budgeted, and 15% where we were this time last year as well. And we talked about the clinics. The clinics for the month alone were finished at 505 visits, which was down about 21% versus budget and 20% versus where we were this time last year. But I think it's important to point out from a clinic standpoint, and we shared this yesterday, and Mr. Walker mentioned this earlier, when you look at from a year-to-date standpoint, the 6 months of this fiscal year-to-date, clinics are up over 9%, or just under 300 visits where they were last year. So,
why did they dive in March?
I would say that it's because of spring break, so a lot of families are out of the area, and also we have a provider out still several days, and we have another provider out for a week to doing continuing education. We'll have that again in April where someone's out, so it's going to have to fluctuate that way. Pick it up in tourism season.
Thank you.
And I think Susie mentioned at one of the board meetings a couple of months ago that we'll have some providers out.
David, can you answer real quick? Go back to the net income. What drove the net income so high? Is that a timing issue, or is that a?
No, it's actually a couple, and I'll get to that. But I'll go ahead and jump into that if you like. Barry, what drove the net income for the month? There was non-operating revenue that was taken into account for the month. That non-operating revenue exceeded budget by $1 million. That was the big driver this month that increased that overall net income. What is that non-operating revenue that we did recognize during the month? Two things. One is the TMH note that was paid. Now I think the board, and even this was mentioned from the auditor when he presented the audit, and he shared the audit with the county yesterday as well. When a TMH note was paid, that is obviously it was on the books of the hospital as a payable, but it was a donation from the county by paying that note on behalf of the hospital. So the hospital is recognizing that receipt of that donation for the payment made for the note. The note is relieved on the balance sheet, but is now reflecting in income for the hospital because of the donation consideration of that, or the contribution.
So when they paid the $764 off or $5, whatever it is,
that's right.
The county paid that. It didn't come out of any operational fund.
That's correct.
So then the hospital had to recognize it as a gift.
That's correct.
So really, this 700 and some odd thousand is not something we got in hand. It's basically.
That's correct. That is correct. That is correct. That is correct. That's correct. And there's another component to that too, and Mr. Berry, and it relates to the impact of the grant payable to the county as well. And that was shared yesterday from at the audit as well, when Brian Hall referenced the recording of monies that the hospital had received, which is actually the county's money from some grants that were received, and Brian or Riggs made the entry onto the county's books. I know he kind of walked through that. I know it's in his notes on the audit report that he presented last month as well. But from the hospital perspective, since that money was put back into the audit period, which is the previous fiscal year end, then that money gets reflected now on the hospital's books in the current fiscal year. So I know it is confusing on that accounting of that, but that's a non-cash related transaction as well.
That was an adjustment, basically. Accounting adjustment.
That's correct. Accounting adjustment. Yep.
On the patient accounts receivable, is that a timing issue as to why In February, it was low. In March, it seems to have jumped up.
You know, when you look at the month, let me jump through the flow here, Mr. Berry, and let's get some of the notes on that. But you look at the AR days on how they finished. They finished March at a better days than what we finished in February. So if you're looking at the balance sheet, I can toggle away from the income statement. Well, let's just to move through the.
You can just answer it when you get there.
To move through it. I mean, is there any other questions on the income statement? If not, I'll jump over and we'll dive into cash and the performance where we're at. Yeah, kind of bouncing around.
I'm going to make sure that we clear up, the transaction with the county, for the grant, the EMS, USDA, that we got, the county paid us public job, and we had the money came in, sent back to the county. I just want to clear that up.
Sure. Let me just continue to walk through the flow of the financials here. I think it'll put a better picture and bring more clarity to folks. Again, I think we clarified that just under $1 million performance for the month. Yeah, a lot of that $1 million performance relates to the recording of the TMH payable that was relieved, which was considered a contribution to the hospital, and then, as David just mentioned, and we talked about that, the audit adjustment that was reflected. That was part of the $1 million. So you normalize that out, the hospital's at a break even as far as a profitability standpoint for the month. Revenues did exceed budget, did exceed the prior year. The net patient revenue did exceed budget, did exceed the prior year. The total operating revenue did exceed budget and did exceed prior year. So that's all operational driven activities that did exceed budget, did exceed the prior year performance. Within the operating expenditure area, the hospital finished just under $3,000 more, so really right on target for what they had budgeted. And that expenditure is up, though, year over year by roughly $70,000 from the same period last year, which is about just under 7% increase. But the good news, or what I would say from an operations standpoint, the operating revenue did outpace the operating expenditures, and that's where we want to be as we operate the hospital. The recognition of the grants and so forth did certainly help the bottom line number. Also broken out inside the financials is, and we shared this yesterday with the county. We've been able to break out not only EMS, but we're also breaking out the clinics, and we're breaking out the clinics by each clinic. So you'll see the performance of each clinic now within the financial packet, and we're going to keep getting granular like this to keep, as we talked earlier, keep that transparency moving, and that way everyone can have a firm understanding of the financial performance of the hospital. And certainly I will work hard or address any questions if bring any clarity around this. When you look at and I'll move on over. If there's no questions on the income statement, I will move over to the balance sheet, and hopefully Mr. Berry, I'll be able to answer your questions as it relates to the receivables and the cash performance. You'll see the balance sheet is in your packet. So when you look at the cash performance of the hospital year over year, again, is up over $621,000 from where we were at this time last year. So again, the cash position still remains in a healthy cash status for the organization. The days cash on hand, you will see that in your packet as well on that trended information. And the days cash on hand, I'll allow everybody, as I see some folks still flipping through to find some of these numbers, but the days cash on hand did finish just under 58 days cash on hand. So we're still in a healthy cash status. Is up $621,000 from where we were this time last year. So still operating in a good positive direction. From a receivable standpoint, I think Mr. Berry, this may help address your questions. The receivables, net patient receivables for the hospital did finish at $1.4 million, which was roughly up 2% from where it was this time last year. But when you look at the numbers, it's only up $37,000 from where it was this time last year. $1.4 million, when you equate that to days of AR, it's about 82 days of AR that were that where we're at. We want to be at the best. We want to move and continue to improve that number and get to about a 55-day mark. I know the team is working through that. I address this nearly every month, and I'll continue to say this. A lot of our AR is set with uninsured patients as well, which makes it very challenging to collect. So I know the team is working through that. And I just want to add, too, and I was able to pull these numbers because I know it was referenced earlier about the Baker-Tilly report out, and we are going to obviously share the Baker-Tilly report out with the board. The county has that as well. We're putting an action plan on any type of recommendation that was brought forward by Baker-Tilly, and we'll provide that feedback. We've already addressed about 3 or 4 of those, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But I do want to put some clarity around the rejection analysis that was brought up earlier as well. 11.2% is what Baker-Tilly referenced for the snapshot of period of time they reviewed. When you look at January, February, and March of this calendar year, it's at 7.3% now, which falls within that 5 to 10% industry norm that they're referencing. So I think the team is doing a much better job as far as trying to help address some of those issues. Some of those issues are outside the control, though, so keep in mind. And actually, March's performance alone was 4.6% rejection. So it was actually really strong performance there for March alone. So just wanted to share that publicly. I know this is communicated outside here as well, so I want to make sure that's on the record. Another challenge too, and this was brought up, and when you think about Weems, I know this was kind of mentioned before as well, and Brian even mentioned this yesterday in the audit. You know, the charity care that's provided here for the hospital. You know, last year was around 300 or just under 400,000 in charity care that's provided, and that was up over versus what it was in 23. 23 finished about 238 in charity-related care. So charity care is being provided, obviously, through the organization, and I know it was referenced about ensuring patients have eligibility. Well, all patients' insurance eligibility is reviewed through, correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, but we have one source passport is used, as well as Ability. Ability is used as well. So all patients are screened and/or to determine if there's insurance eligibility. Now, it was asked about patients that, and the reason I mentioned the charity is because we do have financial counseling that is provided to ensure that charity applications and so forth, and those are being met so that they meet the charity guidelines before that is recognized as a charity write-off.
Is charity care indigent care?
It is.
Okay, thank
you. And then also part of that, though, too, Mr. Berry, is, and this was brought up in the Baker-Tilly report as well, Medicaid eligibility, and this was brought up earlier, question by the board as well. Medicaid eligibility, we are vetting through an organization to be able to help assist the hospitals to determine and identify if a patient does have and can qualify for Medicaid. So we are looking through and vetting through an organization. We do use a company across many hospitals here throughout our Alliant network, and so we're asking again in conversation with that organization to consider providing that service here at Weems as well.
Can I go to your patient account receivable collections graph chart?
Yes, sir.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay, go to the month of February. If you look at preceding years, it was on the increase. In this year, it decreased. Then we come to March, and we're driving an increase, and the rest of them are decreasing. That's why I asked the question of timing. Is this an accounts receivable timing issue or what?
It is, because when you look back at the February's AR days, those were up versus what we finished March. So what I'm referencing there, John, is again, you'll notice this on the trended detail. The AR days, as I just mentioned, for March are finished at 82 days, versus February was at 93 days. So it is timing. So timing, so activity, more activity was posted against the patient's accounts in March, which helped bring down that overall days, which cash collections were up. and, of course, the contraction-related adjustment once those accounts are adjudicated. And you'll notice that trend too, when you look at, the ebbs and flows of the receivables, but a lot of that is, as you just pointed out, timing related.
And is that related also to the size of the workforce working these things? Or is it because they've got other things to do? Or is that?
I wouldn't necessarily, when you look at start of, fiscal years, start of calendar years, you see deductibles and so forth, resetting per se on patients' activity. A lot of that is working through those balances and working through those nuances of patients' accounts. I wouldn't reference that it's a workforce-related issue if that's what you're referencing.
The concern is that in February, you only have 28 or 29 days.
That's right.
Versus March, you have 31. Okay? And we see a decline versus an increase.
Well, you'll see a natural decline when you got lesser days in a month
Right,
like
but
that.
we saw an
Always
increase
you saw
on the 28-day period.
Right, you saw an increase in the AR days. That's correct. That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Berry, I'll put clarity around that. I don't think there's any concerns or real issues behind that. I don't think there's any workforce-related issues or concerns behind that either. I think the team is working that. They're in constant communication with TrueBridge, the third party.
TrueBridge, did they process, the time?
Yeah. Well,
Right, the Sunshine, we had an issue with Sunshine Centene. If you'll remember, we actually made a complaint to the state. And we've started to see claims come in, but we had $500,000 worth of claims that Sunshine, they were not paying.
Okay.
So that increased our AR.
That's what I want.
Yeah, remember, I think not the last meeting before.
They brought it up.
Yeah, so that's what kind of driving that piece.
And Sunshine's not just here, right? There's issues. I'm actually talking next Tuesday over in Taylor County at the hospital there. They're having Sunshine-related issues as well. So it's a overall payer-related issue.
Thank you, that cleared that up.
So, if there's not is there any other questions related to the strong financial performance? Again, I want to put that clarity that it is a couple of anomalies. What I would say, one-time impacts that happen for the month. But outside of that, when you back those out, and we see the operating revenue continuing to grow, we see the revenue outpacing the expenditures. That's moving operationally in the direction you would want to see.
I just want to say that I was at the Board of County Commissioners meeting yesterday, and I think Brian and our audit team provided a very strong financial outlook for the hospital at the time when they presented it. So I think that was great to see the county commissioners hear that the hospital is doing better. Revenues have been generated higher than they were previously, and we're in a better financial position overall.
Mr. Bowling, I have a question. So I'm looking at the balance sheet of 3/31/25, and what umbrellas professional fees and contractual services? What exactly is that? And can we be provided with an invoice or an itemized list telling me exactly what professional fees and contract services cover?
Absolutely, you can be. And I'll flip to that, but the lion's share of when you look at contract services, when you use third parties, and TrueBridge is a third party. And, so there's many contracts, I guess.
IT.
There's many contracts inside contract services. So, if you're wanting, we can certainly walk through and you can see a list of, there's going to be many, many contracts. But
Not today, no, but eventually. I'd just like to take a
your
look
largest
at those.
yeah.
Correct. Like a listing of the contracts.
Yeah. And quite frankly, as I think when you make the decision, move forward with multi-view. I think you saw pretty clean and clear that you can drill and pick and hunt, and you can find as many of that granular level of detail. But I'll state this though: for purchase services, again, IT, TrueBridge, lab analyzers, for example, based on reagent usage and so forth.
Collection agency.
I'd like to see specific data that shows that our percentage is in line with the industry of our hospital size and what's comparable. If my math serves me right, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Andrew Gay. He's actually a personal friend of mine and my husband's, and he is our personal in business accounting, and he's on the TMH board. So him and I have had a few discussions. I'm actually going to meet with the CNO. They just hired a brand new CFO, excuse me, at Tallahassee Memorial, and I'm actually going to meet with her in a couple weeks and just hone in on some of the things that they're doing, because some of their billing, I think they collected 8.2 billion, or they billed 8.2 billion, and they've got 1.2 in return. So if my math serves me right, my husband owns a business and I own a business. We like to keep our labor ratio less than 10%. Ours for labor to revenue is about 38%. Is that accurate? That seems a little exceptionally high.
Not in a hospital setting. And
okay, could we have something that compares our industry to the like Bluntstown, Perry? Could we look at their labor to revenue to see if it's comparable with ours?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I'm going to need to see those numbers, please.
Your largest spend, and I can, in however much time we want to go into it today, or we can take it offline. I can walk you through the best practice metrics. The labor spend within any healthcare setting is going to be your largest spend, and I can tell you that with confidence. I can tell you with confidence within a critical access setting, you're going to see labor to your net revenue. You're going to see that over half of what your revenue base is, and typically what I'm referencing there, it's going to be somewhere around that 55% range when I'm looking at salary, wages, and benefits. If you're hitting at that, you're hitting at a best practice. And I'll share this for you as well. We are looking at implementing a labor productivity tool here at the organization, which what that means is that is based on peer groups. Each department will be compared to peer groups, industry standard peer groups, and we will anticipate and strive for this hospital to be in that 75th percentile, which is in the top quartile of performance. That's what we will be measured and monitored against. That tool and process is already begun. I know there was an education session already previously provided, but that will be rolled out as well.
So our salaries, our labor,
mm-hmm.
Our labor, if we compare it, it would align with the industries around us, is what you're saying.
I would say for now, yes. And there's a lot of moving factors inside of it. And it's a great question, because when you compare it against like a TMH, there's not much comparison there, because when you say expenditures as a product of your revenue, and their revenue base is quite a bit higher. And what I mean by that too is the intensity base of the revenue. So when you're doing surgical cases and so forth that have higher charge, higher revenue producing areas, and your expenditures, when you do the product and math there, it's going to be a different percentage, different ratio. So you need to be compared, and we will be comparing and can compare.
We should be comparing.
And always will compare against.
Yeah, and I think what we can do here is to help you out is that Alliant works with a lot of small rural hospitals, and what we've done in the past when we weren't sure about our numbers is we've asked them to benchmark that against other small rural hospitals, and then we can really take a look at how that compares. And we've done that in the past with other questions.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
No, but I mean, it's a good question to ask, because that might be a number we should look at in a benchmark against other small rural hospitals that they work with. And
if we're spending X amount of money on salary, that needs to be in line with the benchmarks of a hospital our size.
Yes, absolutely.
And let me just point this out.
How can we manage that better if it's not?
Yeah. Let me point this out. Glad you asked that question. On my report, of course I got to leave in a minute, but on my report, I have the labor and productivity analysis initiative that we're going to implement. Yes, you know what I mean? That's really what we're beginning to address operational efficiencies to see if we're in line. Usually, for critical access hospitals, you may want to be around the 45% mark, David.
That's low. I mean, that is really low.
Really low.
I would hedge it more towards the 55%
Okay, yes.
mark or more, just based on the intensity and acuity of services that are provided.
Yeah.
Just being realistic.
Yeah, and so we'll look at that, but this productivity tool will help us increase operational efficiency. You know what I mean? So that'll, and then we'll benchmark that. How are we looking, compared to some of our other critical access hospitals around us, per se.
What options do we have to outsource a billing vendor? Is that an option ever?
Oh, yeah, well, right now, the billing vendor is we outsourced it, and usually at one time, Weems, billing was always outsourced, but we just wouldn't get what we needed, per se. So it's kind of like it's outsourced, but it's kind of like a hybrid kind of model here. And so what you have a lot of agencies, they do outsource a whole lot, and then that brings down their labor and productivity, measure there.
So our labor is comparable from housekeeping to CEO to you.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. And so, we're gonna look at the labor.
I read the contract agreement between Weems and
Yeah.
Alliant. Some of it was a little gray, but it's pretty foolproof for Alliant.
Yeah. Well, how that happened, since we're talking about this, I was I was a Weems employee, but then when they made the agreement with the county wanted me to be an Alliant employee.
Okay.
So
That's my next question. Is
The county wanted me to be an Alliant employee, meaning that the county wanted to have Alliant, as well as Alliant president, have more authority of the CEO here.
Yes, sir. It's a little confusing for me.
Yeah, because what happened was you had CEOs rotating here every year, and they were fighting against the county, and so the county was catching a lot of heat of pushing a lot of CEOs out. So now you say, okay, if I bring a management company in, that management company has to control the CEO, so if they want to get rid of him, they can. And so that's how I became a
Thank
line
you for
employee.
clearing that up, because
Just
it's
put
a
that
little
out.
bit
So it really wasn't, Alliant really pushing for it coming in. It was the county in Alliant saying, okay, you will control the CFO and the CEO. So you need to make changes. Well, then you're responsible for this hospital.
Sure.
You got to make those changes.
And Kristen, I mean.
So that's how that came about, because the CEOs like rotating.
Thank you, because
Yeah.
it's a little confusing.
Sure, and I'll just add this, and we've been pretty transparent to the county or any board member involved or what have you. I mean, if there's questions, concerns, or if there's confusion inside of our contract, by all means, we'll work and do whatever is needed to help accommodate and/or make clearer about our contract language. And I know we've been working hard to hopefully earn that trust, and because there has been some questions previously, but I would hope the operational improvement and performance that's happening here. Our goal is clearly to bring best practices and to help move this organization in a better direction.
Right.
And if we're failing in any of those areas, then by all means, let's address those areas. Let's openly discuss those areas. Let's discuss those areas with the county commissioner who appointed you to the board, and so forth. So we have transparency in all the data that's being shared, and not considered a mistrust and mishandling of the information. And we will put clarity around any of that activity, as well as any contractual related activity, and that's our commitment.
And the line is they're on a month-to-month. Month-to-month.
It's a month-to-month agreement.
You and I talked about that the other day.
It's a month-to-month agreement as well. We agreed to that as well.
Is that something the county wanted to initiate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is correct.
So if they have, one of the reasons, is that, if the county moved to another partnership, another model, it'd just be easier to transfer that model, with that.
They had a long-term relationship.
Right.
But then after the contract came to fruition, then they went on a month-to-month.
That is correct. That
Well,
is correct.
it had 6 months capability.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they took it down to month, so they got this report, which we're still looking for to determine where they want to go. But I have when you get finished, David, I got another question. Mr. Walker, here's the question I have. We seem to be taking care of the EMS side equation, working towards the county employees. Where is the comparability or study that talks about our nurses and staff personnel with regards to their long-term package versus the package they have right now? so that we have everybody on an equal footing, so we don't have all of a sudden a shortage, a real shortage of employees.
Well, yeah, but we hadn't did a study. I mean, the county has authorized a study to say, okay, what would it take, what would the cost be, benefit for the hospital employees to join FRS? And I think our auditor, Brian Hall, can do that. I don't know if Lion can have those numbers to do that particular thing.
County has to authorize
Yeah, because we can't, we don't have no authority.
We as a board can't say we would like to.
Well, you can. I mean, the board can make a recommendation, and then I can go, board chairman can go and make a recommendation to the county, say, hey, since we did this for EMS, we would like to make a recommendation,
To at least see what that looks like, right? I mean, not make a change, but see what that looks like, right?
For the hospital,
Yeah.
for the hospital employees, because we know that the EMS model, it will cost an extra $300,000 for FRS. So what would it cost for the hospital employees, the full-time employees? You're looking at about 60 employees, really. And so you do 60 times, 6.7? I don't know if that's the fee percentage for each employee to join FRS. So I think, county hospital board can make that recommendation. We can make it to the county. Now, the other thing, too, if the hospital is moving, well, I just want to say that. But anyway,
I know what you're going to say.
But you got to make that. You make that recommendation. We'll make it a Macaron, and then they can authorize that.
I think David's right. I mean, they got to figure out what's going to happen first. And Board of County Commissioners, it's on their shoulders right now to make a decision on what they want to do. After they make that decision, I think that's a great time to look at what we can do for parity for our nurses and staff with what they've done with EMS. I agree with you.
And the thing is, the timing is important because of the fact that you don't want to leave anybody behind in the process because you might end up having to fill a void you can't fill.
Yeah, but the bottom line, I've been saying this, and we know that we have staff here that's been working here a long time, but we have staff that we know leaving. Matter of fact, our swing bed coordinator, he's relocating back to Orlando, but we do have employees that have been here for a long time, working 50-some years with no retirement, till we started retirement. But,
couple years ago, yeah.
Yeah, but
2 years ago.
Yeah, so it's heartbreaking. But that's something that we can.
Our nurses have insurance.
Oh yeah, it's
That is correct. That is
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, and
Yes, ma'am.
We didn't.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, 2 years ago, we established the 401k as well.
Yeah. There's been a lot of improvements.
The
Yes,
benefit
ma'am.
packages are basically equal, then you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But if there's
It'll be
deficits in
Yeah.
it, or areas that are not covered, we certainly want to look at that because there's nothing worse than having the employees disgruntled internally in the heart as you're trying to push
one,
the
but
whole group up.
But you're right about that because we do have some employees in the heart, because they see what EMS is moving towards, and they want to know what happened to them. So yeah, I mean, if the board, whenever you make that recommendation, I bring it to Mike Marone, and then we can make that recommendation to the county.
What recommendation?
That we do a study or a survey on what it would cost to move our employees out of the PEO and into the county program.
I don't think that's necessary. I think we would want the study to be something equivalent to the benefits of FRS. If we can.
Okay, now FRS.
You understand what I'm talking about?
So it can be two different ways you can do this. FRS, that's the state retirement system, right? Now,
Yes.
Now what we can do is, Weems Memorial Hospital has a hospital district, all right? Hospital district employees can apply for the retirement system, Florida retirement system. And so one of the ways to do that is that, we can activate our hospital district settings, which we have already, meaning that you got to have your own authority board to do that. And then you can apply with the state management services system to get your employees part of that retirement system. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is the county will want our employees to be there as county employees. All right. So there's two different ways you can do that.
But either way, they got to come out of the PEO.
Oh yeah, they'll come from out of the PEO. PEO, that's yeah.
And it's got to be a number attached to what's going to cost to do.
Yeah, it has to be a number attached because just like EMS got their number, I think EMS pays I think it may be 30% of the salary of the employee towards the retirement system. I think since we're not high risk, I think that number may be a 6 or 7%, but I'm unsure. So whatever, we'll need that same number for our employees, and then you'll have how much it would cost. But I think, it's just what direction.
Could we also be looking at the different benefits programs between the two? Could we look at a comparison of our benefits that we provide now versus benefits that they would get if they moved? I mean, I think that should be the first logical step to see what deficiencies our program has versus what they could get with that. I mean, and then you could,
but there's some deficiencies because you look at with the county is on CHP, and our hospital, we're on CHP and Blue Cross Blue Shield. So we have our majority of employees on Blue Cross Blue Shield instead of CHP. Now we pay a little bit more for the family plan, here than the county. County does, so our cost is a little bit more. I know David Bowling through Alliant, they're working on a master list that our hospital can join, I guess, the Florida hospitals, on an insurance capability, and that means it'll drop the premium on how much the employees pay. So you'll have some discrepancy on the medical part of it.
I think with TMH, they just built a freestanding.
Are working on building a freestanding hospital in Panama City, is that correct?
Yeah.
So Gulf County is not umbrella under CHP currently, right?
But it will.
But it's going to start to trickle here. So what we might find is Ascension and TMH might be battling over who's actually going to team up and partner with this hospital, because I feel like I'm going to get off my soapbox, but I feel like we have promised this community a new hospital. We have for a very long time, and we owe it to this community to make that happen.
Do I think the county should be fully responsible for that? No, I don't. I think that we should 50-50 and partner with TMH or Sacred. I worked for both. They're both phenomenal hospitals. But eventually, CHP is going to trickle down here, and I feel like Ascension might be competing with TMH to take over.
And it's like, if that happened, ain't no problem with that. I know the president of Ascension.
Yeah.
And him and I talked about. Yeah, him and I talked about that. So it all depends, which one in their wheelhouse want to do this. At that time when I talked with the Ascension president a year ago, he indicated that they had no intentions on coming here because they had other issues they were trying to deal with in State County. But a lot of things have changed. But so that's something, the county and the board will work that out. Per se.
With
Yeah.
Mark O'Brien and the new CFO next week or the next, and
Yeah.
just to kind of get feelers for where they're at
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Kind of exciting.
Sure.
Yeah. That'll be.
And Kristen,
David, let me ask you something here.
I gotta go.
David's got to go. Let's let.
Let me just do this right quick. I have to get my daughter up to Atlanta.
By the way, David's got a new grandfather.
Have a new grandson.
Congratulations to you.
Yeah, new grandson. I just want to just say this. Here's my report here. I just want to highlight a couple of things on here. At our next meeting, the IT assessment report will be done. So I'm recommending that we have a light agenda, meaning that I probably won't have any departmental reports. We'll probably do the financial report, and then we have a closed door session, for the IT. Dr. Kendra Seiler is doing the independent IT assessment on the hospital. Will come in, closed door session. We can review that report. So next month's meeting will be very, very light.
Well, we'll also have our quarterly quality risk management.
Yeah, risk management. Okay, yeah.
Both of them.
So we may do those two, and then we really need to cut it out so we can have more time to talk about IT. It's going to be a very, very detailed report. Next month also we have hospital days coming up, and I'll send you all National Hospital Days and Hospital Week, and I'll send you all the dates for that. Y'all to come out and join the staff as we begin to celebrate. We also, next week, we have a great partnership with University of South Florida Health and with the American Hospital Association. They're coming to do some OB simulation training for the staff. We're only two rural hospitals out of the nation that was picked to work with them with this project. So it's going to be next week, April 30th. And also we're going to think about future governing board meetings. There was some conversation about having the meetings at the county commission So y'all may want to discuss that later in the meeting about moving those meetings as well. And that's all I have with that. And I also have an agenda item after David is finished. Heather will come and do that. That's the public health information policy that we want to get put in. Okay. All right. But if y'all need me, y'all take
Good luck, buddy. Thank you. Congratulations.
I got three.
Okay.
But
This is an addition.
His first son.
Okay.
I told him they named him after me.
Oh.
You know, I quickly, David, I think that we do need to, and I agree, address the retirement issue with hospital. I don't think it's going, we just need to know a number, I guess. Could you get that for us?
Yeah, I think what we could do
equivalent to,
yeah.
maybe not quite as, I mean, I'm not saying FRS is kind of a Cadillac. I don't know that we could maintain what FRS does, you know? I don't know that we can. So I would, it don't have to be FRS, but I think we need to anticipate that in the next 60 days or so. Can we get that, or?
I think it's fair. I think
pretty simple.
What I could hear the conversations around, I think just doing a comparison versus, okay, what is being offered to our employees today?
Right.
And how does that compare to what could be under an FRS?
And how much money?
And what kind of financial?
Is that okay, everybody? I
Yeah.
don't think that don't take a vote. That's just,
I think
we'll
that's
know what we're
perfect.
looking at. We don't know what we're looking at right now.
That's right.
Okay?
I don't have any other, unless there's any other questions, be glad to. I know the line updates on the agenda. I mean, I can just.
I do think the audit report was very good. Y'all done a good job with that. I remember the days when we didn't have a CFO and we couldn't trust the numbers. We can trust the numbers now.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's why I was mentioning earlier too. I mean, in transparency. I mean, we want to be as transparent as possibly can be. I think the decision to move towards a multi-view platform like that's going to continue to keep enhancing that as well. I'll give just a brief update from the Alliance standpoint, because I know we presented yesterday at the county to talk about the 2 clinics and to address a few things there as well. But we are going to be doing a provider assessment or a clinic operational assessment, which is going to include a needs analysis to look at the needs of any provider needs in the community, market share analysis along with that, service growth opportunities because they are in the growth phase, and then benchmarking the KPIs. And I think that's going to be important for everybody to have as well. So we're looking to compare that. David mentioned, and we mentioned here throughout this discussion too, take utility feedback. Yes, certainly David's going to share this with you already to the board. Obviously to see that, all the recommendations that are in there, we are going to, and we have listed those recommendations, and we're going down that list, and I'm going to bring that forward to the board as well, so we can see where things are the recommendations. Are we moving forward with it, or is it a recommendation that we just table for now? Whatever it may be, we're going to bring that forward and show that. And I will say 3 of those recommendations, obviously we're already well underway. We've already looked at the payer contracts, top 5, 6 payer contracts within the organization, and are able to negotiate and or improve any of those payer contracts where needed. So we're looking at that currently and already have that table built. I mentioned earlier about vetting that Medicaid eligibility company, looking to bring the company that has serviced a lot of our facilities here in North Florida and help them and look to bring that organization here as well. And then the multi-view platform is going to really help enhance those departmental capabilities and help generate business ownership within the departments. That's all I have, unless there's other questions.
Anything else?
Glad to.
Okay, thank you, David.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Heather, do we have a policy for volunteers for our hospital? Okay. Could we implement a policy, please?
Yes,
for volunteers?
it's actually been a point of discussion. So, yeah.
'Cause I just want to make sure that we don't have minors in here in our billing department, and we have volunteers that have been vetted correctly and that are gone through HIPAA training, and so that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, there's one more action item. I've got a policy, or there's a policy in everyone's book, PHI, which is Personal Health Information Breach Notification. This is a policy that we simply need to have. Every healthcare facility needs to have it. And I pretty much took it straight from Department of Health and Human Resources.
Where's the place for the signature of the responsible person that promoted, promulgated this policy? I don't see a signature sign off like Mr. Walker's signature.
Oh, but that's because I brought it to you first. Now, if you want to look at it, and we can address it again next month.
I've read it, but I'm saying there's got to be somebody's
Signature.
on it.
Okay, well, if you,
And date.
right, I'd be happy to do that. You want to wait till next month? And we'll have our IT analysis then as well, and it'll just fit right in. Okay?
Okay, Franklin County Housing Initiative update.
All right. All right, this is the first time we're doing this. I was at their meeting last month, and I'm going to be at their meeting again tomorrow. It's basically a program that's a joint venture between government and private to develop a parcel of property that's up off of 65 behind the Sheriff's Department. And what they're looking here to do is really put together some kind of a working class housing program that will allow people who are working at jobs around the county, like some of the people we have at the hospital that can't find housing. So it's not going to be HUD housing where you have to make almost nothing. It's going to be people that have a certain income level, what we would say the working poor, that can afford some housing in the county and provide the services that we need and the people here that we need, so they don't have to travel from other counties in order to service the programs. Teachers, EMS, hospital workers, even restaurant employees, things like that we really need. So that's what their initiative is. The people that are on it are Jessica Ward, who's Board of County Commissioners. You got Dwayne Coulter, Sheriff's Department. Melanie Inzata, I guess she's on school board. Adrian Elliott, who's our commissioner here in Appalachia. Sabrina Brown, who's the mayor of Carabel, and East Point Water and Sewer, Colton Sapp. So those are the people that sit up on the dais and are on the board for this. But they have, tagged a couple people who are going to be part of subcommittee work groups. Myself as being one of them for hospital and allied health, Billy Fuentes for infrastructure, David Hughes for academic excellence, Lynn Martina, economic development, and Gloria Salinard, who is, she's currently the, real estate association director. She's going to be land and use development. What the agenda items were that they went over last meeting was Career Source Gulf County. Kim Bodine talked about employment, education, training, strategic partnerships, and funding that they're going to provide to the organization as well for people that want to come into the county. We also had Northwest Florida Realtors Association, Laura Gallo, who came in to talk about also partnerships with this group, advocacy, funding, and legislative priorities. And I think she came up with some money as well for the organization out of their funds. Also, John O'Grady from the Florida Development Solutions, LLC, was there, and I introduced him to David. That's an interesting organization. They basically do all of the GC work and the soft costs with development of properties. And so they're a property manager, basically. But they would be a great partner for us with the hospital as well to do the joint venture to build the new hospital or the new wing or ER that we're talking about. So we've talked to them separately, David and I, after I heard their presentation at this meeting. And they're going to be working, well, they haven't been tagged yet to work with this organization. They're just feeling out who they're going to work with. But there's a possibility that they're going to work with what we are calling Team Franklin. Team Franklin. I think it's a good organization. They want they want me to kind of head up the subcommittee for hospital and allied health, and they're looking for some questions on how we can partner. And I would certainly love assistance from anybody in this room that would want to bring to me ways that we could improve our organization's health through this housing initiative, and certainly bring that to them or anybody else that wants to also join in the subcommittee with me to help put our heads together and figure out how we're going to partner with this organization. So I open that up. But I think when I go in tomorrow, I'm not going to have a lot of answers to them as how I'm setting up my team and what my goals are and strategic plan is in our mission. I think I'm going to basically say I still got to know where the hospital is going first. So I'm going to have very little to contribute except let's hang in there and see what they're going to do, and then we can maybe make some directional initiatives for our subcommittee that would dovetail with what this organization's doing. So that's where we're at. But yeah.
It takes money to drive this process.
Mm-hmm.
Who is responsible for going out and attracting the corporations that are going to want to invest? I know now from a personal standpoint, I have a number of investments into corporations that do this.
Mm-hmm.
But who's going out and attracting or trying to get them to come take a look, see? Because you're not going to, we can form all the committees we want until we get the cash.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wants to construct infrastructure and all that, we got nothing.
Yep. Well, from my understanding, and I'm learning as I go because I've only been to one meeting, so, but basically, they are providing a huge tax incentive. It's a tax incentive program for private industry. So that's one of the major things that they're going to be offering on the table to attract partners on the private side of the joint venture between government and private.
Do we have any PPPs interested already, corporations that are interested in
This is a startup that had one meeting prior to me being there. So 1 month prior to me being there was one other meeting, and that was the second meeting I was at. The third meeting is going to be tomorrow. So they're just getting their feet underneath them. They haven't gotten to the point where, this organization is brand new, and they're still trying to figure out the steps that they need to take to make it come to reality. You want to be that?
No, no.
Did you volunteer?
No, you gotta have somebody with investment, making knowledge, these corporations.
Well, I love to put him on the spot like that.
No, it's hard enough to come 65 miles every time I come over here or go to Bloodstown for another meeting.
Well, I'll definitely keep you apprised of what they're up to, and I think it's a great idea. You're right. There's an awful lot of difficulties in making this come to fruition, but I think they're on the right track as far as what we need here in the county, and what needs to happen in order for us to grow exponentially with service people that that can afford to live here.
Does that land belong to the county?
It is. It's behind the sheriff's office. There's a big tract back there behind the sheriff's office off of 65. And that's where they're planning on doing the construction. I think the land has already been set aside for that purpose. But again, all the players have to be put in place yet to figure out exactly how that's going to work.
Any more questions? They're working on it. It's just getting started. I think I saw the conceptual, I think he came in here with a presentation. I think that was before you was on the board. I think that was prior to you being on board, a couple of months. Yeah. And
Yeah, Bill Weems.
It's a monumental task, but I think they got the man up to it there. I believe it. Just hope that it works out well. It'll work out well for everybody. I'm glad they included the hospital because healthcare is part of any community. Okay, anything else? I got one thing I'd like to bring up, because I'm going to talk about service line growth. Let's everybody be looking for any way we can provide more services and make more money. Okay? Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know, but let's don't, we, in the past, and, do what now?
Wound care and rehab are two very lucrative outpatient services that Medicare is not
Well, then, you know, is it a market here, or what? Huh? Well, I know, is it, you know, if it's something that we need to do, you got an idea, let's bring it up, ask the line, look at it for us, see
Yeah,
it.
I think we've been kicking around the therapy, you know, outside therapy and physical therapy for a while. We had a great opportunity when one of those physical therapy organizations left town, and there was an opening there for that, and I don't know why we didn't move forward on it. We have physical therapy here for the swing beds, but we just haven't offered that same physical therapy to the outside community. And I think it was partially due that we didn't have the employee that could run it or do it or whatever. But you know, when the one organization left town, there were people that were in that organization, and there were customers for that. And I just don't know why we didn't jump right on that, attach it. I think there's an opportunity still in town for physical therapy, and I think we need to really move with it.
And wound care, we have so many diabetic patients that drive to Tallahassee for wound care, and if we could get a provider and nurses.
I was going to ask a question.
We used to do colonoscopies here.
I was going to ask a question about wound care. Is wound care being provided in the community? Is there any wound care provider?
Hey, would you take a look at both of them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Wound is something we have seen in a
We
lot
always,
of
it seems like to me now, a little bit, we're set back all over. We've got 60 days of cash on hand, $1.5 million, whatever. We don't need to sit around and pat ourselves on the back. You know, we need to get more services, more little trickles. You know, more little, let's don't sit around and sit on it. Let's keep searching like we don't have any customers. You know? So, let us know something on that. I think that would be, anything else? Anything else you see somewhere?
Remember, COSAR brought up at one time, when I first got on this board, brought up other services, i.e. colonoscopies, and I kept preaching on that.
I think
mass market for
Why
those.
do you want us to do colonoscopies so bad?
Because there's a mass market and it saves
I could say
people's
so.
lives.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something that I know of personally. The mammogram. Well, my wife don't get hers here because she has the DEXA. What's it called? Yeah, and a lot of folks do. You know, and I don't know if we could provide that with the mammogram. I don't know enough about it to say if we could, you know, same person do it. I mean, I don't know.
They said that was a good two-piece part of the puzzle, right? But there's some kind of machine that we need for that, and we don't know how much that is. I mean, let's find out.
Hey, thanks.
You know, because I think you know, the foundation is looking to put more money in the hospital's hands coming up.
So a DEXA scanner takes area space to the size of a hospital bed too, so you have to think about where that's going to go.
Well,
Okay.
we'll think about all that.
Spacing,
I mean,
okay.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
I don't know if we get somebody to do it, but if we don't do anything, nothing's going to be done. So that's another line of service that we have. Everybody be thinking, let's see. And if you don't check on the colonoscopy for John, it's going to be a bad situation here.
Barry, I had mine done recently at Extension.
Okay, let's go now. We gotta wrap this up. everybody in here. Hey, y'all, called order.
Oh,
Come on now,
no.
called order. Everybody in here just are gonna be thinking, looking, anything to get more lines of service. But we're gonna just sit here and, we're trying to cut expenses. You can only cut so much,
How about a vending machine in the lobby? What do you think?
Well, we'll double the price of it. Double the price. But anyway, okay. That's great. Thank y'all very much. I'm glad for the input there because I was concerned about that. One last thing, I'd just like to, county needs to know that. I think they do. If the county does end up running emergency management part, I don't want. I'm sure we won't. It's October 1st. We're not going to lock the door or anything. This transmission's got to be smooth. We're going to help them get there, and that's the best thing to do there with that. So I wish them success, and I think it'll work out fine. They might not do it. I don't know. I think they're looking at the studies. So, anyway, anybody got anything else? Thank y'all. See y'all next month.